Welcome to Discover Before Sleep channel. In this documentary, we explore one of nature's most radical forms of intelligence, the eight-armed engineering marvel. From its 3 hearts and blue blood to its decentralized mind, we will uncover the octopus's biological secrets and its mastery of camouflage and tool use. Witness the incredible survival stories and the tragic life cycle of these mysterious creatures. To support our channel, please remember to subscribe, like the video, and share your favorite moments in the comments. If you are ready, let's begin our journey into the deep. The oceans of Earth harbor a lineage of life that has diverged radically from the vertebrate path, culminating in the cephalopoda, a class of marine mollusks that includes the octopus. These organisms represent a sophisticated evolutionary trajectory where the ancestral shell has been entirely lost or internalized, allowing for a body of unparalleled flexibility. An octopus is defined by its bilateral symmetry and a highly centralized yet distributed nervous system. Its anatomy is divided primarily into the mantle, which contains the vital organs, and the 8 arms that radiate from a central head. This body plan allows the octopus to compress its entire mass through any opening no larger than its beak, the only rigid structure in its body. This lack of a skeletal system provides a unique mechanical advantage in the complex topographies of coral reefs, rocky crevices, and the deep seafloor. The octopus's circulatory system is uniquely adapted to its high metabolic demands, featuring 3 hearts. 2 branchial hearts pump blood through the gills, while a single systemic heart circulates oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Interestingly, the systemic heart ceases to beat when the octopus swims, which contributes to the animal's preference for crawling over sustained high-speed swimming. The blood itself is hemocyanin-based, utilizing copper rather than iron to transport oxygen. This makes the blood appear blue and allows for more efficient oxygen transport in cold, low-oxygen environments, though it is less efficient than hemoglobin in highly oxygenated waters. This physiological trait dictates much of the octopus's activity levels and its reliance on camouflage rather than long-distance flight when threatened. Central to the octopus's survival is its nervous system, which contains approximately 500 million neurons, a count comparable to that of a dog. However, the distribution of these neurons is what sets the octopus apart from almost all other complex life forms. Only about 1/3 of these neurons are located in the central brain. The remaining 2/3 are found in the nerve cords of the arms. Each arm possesses a degree of autonomy, capable of processing sensory information and executing motor movements without direct input from the central brain. This decentralization allows an octopus to engage in multitasking on a level rarely seen in the animal kingdom. An arm can explore a crevice for prey, react to tactile stimuli, and manage texture changes simultaneously, while the central brain focuses on scanning the environment for predators. The arms are lined with hundreds of suckers, each equipped with chemoreceptors that allow the octopus to taste what it touches. This chemical sensing is vital for identifying prey hidden in the substrate. The musculature of the arms is arranged in a muscular hydrostat system, similar to a human tongue or an elephant's trunk. By contracting longitudinal, transverse, and helical muscles, the octopus can stiffen an arm at any point to create a temporary joint, allowing for precise manipulation of objects. This allows for a range of motion that is not limited by the fixed hinge points of a skeleton. The visual system of the octopus is equally advanced. Their eyes are structurally similar to vertebrate eyes, featuring a cornea, iris, lens, and retina, yet they evolved independently, a classic example of convergent evolution. Unlike human eyes, which change the shape of the lens to focus, octopus eyes move the lens back and forth. Their pupils are often rectangular or U-shaped, which helps them maintain a clear image even in high-contrast environments. While most evidence suggests octopuses are colorblind, they are highly sensitive to the polarization of light. This sensitivity may allow them to detect transparent prey or see through the camouflage of other marine animals. The integration of high-resolution vision with the distributed nervous system enables the octopus to perceive and react to its surroundings with extreme speed. One of the most remarkable biological features of the octopus is its ability to change its appearance almost instantaneously. This is achieved through a complex system of organs in the skin known as chromatophores. These are tiny sacs filled with pigment, typically red, orange, yellow, brown, or black, surrounded by radial muscles. When the brain or local nerves signal these muscles to contract, the sac expands, making the color visible. When the muscles relax, the color disappears. Beneath the chromatophores lie iridophores, which produce iridescent, metallic colors by reflecting light, and leucophores, which provide a white background to enhance the contrast of the colors above. Beyond color, the octopus can alter its skin texture using papillae. These are bundles of muscle that can be protruded to mimic the rough texture of coral, seaweed, or rock, or retracted to make the skin perfectly smooth. This dual control of color and texture allows the octopus to achieve a level of crypsis that makes it nearly invisible against a variety of backgrounds. This mechanism is not merely for hiding. It is also used for communication and as a dynamic warning system. Some species, when threatened, will pulse with high contrast patterns to startle a predator, a behavior known as dymatic display. Movement in octopuses involves two primary methods: crawling and jet propulsion. Crawling is the most common form of locomotion, utilizing the suckers and the muscular strength of the arms to pull the body along the seafloor. This method is energy efficient and allows the animal to maintain constant contact with the environment. For rapid escapes, the octopus employs jet propulsion. By drawing water into the mantle cavity and forcefully expelling it through a tubular organ called the siphon, the octopus can propel itself backward at high speeds. The siphon is highly mobile and can be aimed in different directions to steer the animal. However, because the systemic heart stops during this process, jet propulsion is metabolically taxing and is typically reserved for short bursts. In the pursuit of food, octopuses exhibit a wide array of hunting strategies. Many species are generalist predators, consuming crustaceans, mollusks, and fish. A common hunting technique involves parachuting, where the octopus flares its arms and the webbing between them to trap organisms against the seafloor. Once prey is captured, it is brought to the mouth, which contains a sharp, parrot-like beak. The octopus may use its radula, a tooth-lined tongue, to drill into the shells of crabs or snails. They also possess salivary glands that secrete venom. In most species, this venom serves to paralyze the prey, but in the blue-ringed octopus, it contains tetrodotoxin, a potent neurotoxin capable of killing much larger animals, including humans. The dietary habits of an octopus vary by habitat. Shallow water species often focus on crabs and gastropods, while deep-sea species may rely on polychaete worms or small deep-sea fish. The ecological role of the octopus is significant. They serve as both high-level predators that control populations of crustaceans and as a vital food source for larger marine animals, including sharks, seals, and cetaceans. Their ability to process high amounts of protein and grow rapidly makes them a central node in the marine food web. The cognitive abilities of the octopus have been the subject of extensive scientific study. They are among the few invertebrates known to engage in tool use. A notable example is the veined octopus, which has been observed collecting discarded coconut shells or bivalve shells, carrying them across the seafloor, and assembling them into a protective enclosure when resting. This behavior indicates foresight and the ability to plan for future needs, rather than just reacting to immediate stimuli. In laboratory settings, octopuses have demonstrated the ability to solve complex puzzles, such as opening jars with screw-top lids to access food. And they have shown signs of observational learning, where one individual learns a task by watching another. The intelligence of the octopus is also reflected in its den-building behavior. Most octopuses are solitary and maintain a home base or den in a rock crevice or burrow. They often decorate the entrance of the den with the remains of their prey, a feature researchers call an octopus's garden. These dens provide essential protection during the day for nocturnal species or a safe place to retreat after hunting. Some species will even use stones to narrow the entrance of their den, making it harder for predators to enter. The spatial memory required to navigate back to a specific den after wide-ranging foraging trips suggests a sophisticated mental mapping capability. Experiments have shown that octopuses use distal landmarks, fixed objects in the environment like specific coral heads or rock formations, to orient themselves. This prevents them from becoming lost in the visually complex and often shifting landscape of the reef or the seafloor. In laboratory settings, They can navigate mazes and remember the solutions for several weeks, indicating both short-term and long-term memory functions that are comparable to many vertebrate species. This intelligence is further evidenced by their play behavior, which has been documented in both captive and wild individuals. Octopuses have been observed manipulating objects, such as floating bottles or balls, by blowing them with their siphons into a water current and catching them as they return. In a strictly biological context, play is often seen as a way for complex organisms to practice motor skills or explore the properties of their environment without the immediate pressure of survival. For a solitary invertebrate, this suggests a level of neural complexity that goes beyond basic stimulus response mechanisms. Daily activity patterns vary significantly among the approximately 300 known species. Many shallow water octopuses are crepuscular, meaning they are most active during the dawn and dusk periods when light levels are changing. This allows them to take advantage of the transition between day-active and night-active predators, using the low light to enhance their camouflage. Other species are strictly nocturnal, emerging from their dens only under the cover of total darkness to hunt. During the day, these individuals remain tightly wedged into crevices, often pulling rocks or shells over the entrance to conceal their presence. Interactions with predators are a constant factor in the life of an octopus. Despite their own predatory status, they are preyed upon by a vast array of marine life, including eels, sharks, dolphins, and large fish like groupers. Because they lack a protective shell, their primary defense is avoidance through crypsis. If camouflage fails, the octopus employs a hierarchy of secondary defenses. The first is often the release of ink. This ink is a mixture of melanin and mucus, stored in an ink sac near the siphon. When threatened, the octopus expels a cloud of ink that serves two purposes. It creates a visual smoke screen to confuse the predator, and the chemicals within the ink can interfere with the olfactory senses of predators like eels, making it harder for them to track the octopus by scent. Another defensive strategy is autotomy, or the voluntary shedding of a limb. If a predator grabs an arm, the octopus can sever it at a predefined breakage point. The detached arm continues to wriggle and crawl for several minutes due to its independent nervous system, acting as a distraction while the octopus escapes. Unlike many other animals that lose limbs, the octopus can regenerate the arm completely over several weeks, including the complex nerves and suckers, with no loss of functionality. The reproductive cycle of the octopus is a singular, terminal event in its life. Most species are semelparous, meaning they reproduce only once before dying. Mating involves the transfer of sperm from the male to the female via a specialized arm called the hectocotylus. This arm features modified suckers or a groove to hold spermatophores, which are packets of sperm. In some species, the male can maintain a safe distance from the female during this process to avoid being cannibalized, as female octopuses are often larger and may view the male as prey. Once the eggs are fertilized, the female finds a secure location to deposit them. Depending on the species, she may lay tens of thousands of tiny eggs or a smaller number of larger eggs. These are often attached to the roof of a den in long, grape-like clusters. The female then enters a period of intensive maternal care that lasts until the eggs hatch. During this time, which can range from a few weeks to several months, or in the case of certain deep-sea species, several years, the female does not eat. Her sole focus is on protecting the eggs from predators and gently blowing water over them to ensure they remain oxygenated and free of debris and parasites. As the eggs approach hatching, the female's physical condition deteriorates significantly. The process of senescence begins, characterized by the breakdown of tissues and the loss of coordination. By the time the hatchlings emerge, the female has typically reached the end of her natural lifespan. The males also experience a rapid decline and death shortly after mating. This short lifespan, typically 1 to 5 years depending on the species, is a significant biological constraint. It prevents the accumulation of cultural knowledge or the formation of social structures, meaning every octopus must learn how to hunt, hide, and survive entirely on its own from the moment it hatches. Development from a hatchling is a period of extreme vulnerability. In many species, the young emerge as paralarvae, tiny versions of the adult that drift in the upper layers of the ocean as part of the plankton. During this phase, They are at the mercy of ocean currents and are preyed upon by a multitude of organisms. They feed on other planktonic creatures, growing rapidly. Once they reach a certain size, they settle onto the seafloor and transition into their benthic or bottom-dwelling adult form. In species that produce larger eggs, the young hatch as fully formed miniature octopuses that immediately take up residence on the seafloor, bypassing the planktonic stage entirely. The ecological role of octopuses is multifaceted. As middle-tier predators, they act as a bridge in the energy transfer from small invertebrates to large vertebrates. Their high metabolic rate means they consume large quantities of prey, which helps regulate the populations of crabs and bivalves. Furthermore, their abandoned dens often provide habitats for other small marine creatures, contributing to the overall biodiversity of the reef or seafloor. Differences between shallow water and deep-sea species are profound, driven by the extreme pressures and low temperatures of the abyss. Shallow water species, like the common octopus, are known for their rapid color changes and high activity levels. In contrast, deep-sea species, such as those in the genus Granulidone, move much more slowly to conserve energy. Some deep-sea octopuses, like the Dumbo octopus, have evolved fins on their mantles to assist in swimming, and they lack ink sacs, as ink is ineffective in the permanent darkness of the deep ocean. These species also tend to have much longer incubation periods for their eggs due to the cold water slowing their metabolism. Species variation is vast across the globe. The giant Pacific octopus, Enteroctopus dofleini, is the largest known species, with some individuals reaching an arm span of over 9 meters and weighing more than 200 kilograms. Found in the cold waters of the North Pacific, they are long-lived for an octopus, reaching up to 5 years. At the other end of the spectrum is the octopus wolfie, which measures less than an inch in length and weighs less than a gram. Each species has adapted its biology to its specific niche, whether it is the mimic octopus of the Indo-Pacific, which can imitate the shape and movement of sea snakes and lionfish, or the blue-ringed octopus, which uses its vibrant patterns to warn of its deadly toxicity. The biological success of the octopus lies in its adaptability. Without a rigid skeleton, with a brain that extends into its limbs, and with skin that functions as a sophisticated communication and camouflage device, the octopus remains one of the most effective and unique inhabitants of the marine world. Its existence challenges many assumptions about the requirements for high-level intelligence and complex behavior, proving that a completely different evolutionary path can lead to a highly sophisticated and successful life form. The architectural complexity of the octopus body is further revealed in the fine-tuned coordination of its 8 appendages. These arms are not merely limbs for locomotion. They are highly specialized organs of manipulation and sensory intake. The absence of joints allows for an infinite number of degrees of freedom, a mechanical property that robotics engineers frequently study to develop soft robotics. Each arm is capable of twisting, elongating, and contracting independently. This fluid movement is governed by a network of intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. The longitudinal muscles run the length of the arm, while the transverse and circular muscles wrap around it. When the transverse muscles contract, the arm extends. When the longitudinal muscles contract, it shortens. This antagonistic relationship, supported by a fluid-filled cavity that maintains constant volume, allows the octopus to reach into the narrowest of crevices to extract a hidden crab or to anchor itself firmly against a surging tide. The suckers on these arms are marvels of biological engineering. Each individual sucker is composed of 2 main parts: the outer infundibulum and the inner acetabulum. The infundibulum provides a flexible seal against uneven surfaces, while the acetabulum creates a vacuum through muscular contraction. This dual-stage mechanism allows an octopus to maintain a grip on surfaces as slick as glass or as porous as volcanic rock. The sensory capability of the suckers is so acute that an octopus can distinguish between textures and chemical signatures simultaneously. If an octopus touches a stone covered in a thin film of algae, it can perceive the physical roughness of the mineral, while its chemoreceptors analyze the organic compounds in the biofilm. This integrated data stream allows the octopus to make split-second decisions about whether a contacted object is potential prey, a useful tool, or an inanimate part of its environment. The respiratory process of the octopus is intrinsically linked to its movement. Water is drawn into the mantle cavity through an opening near the head, passing over the highly vascularized gills where gas exchange occurs. The deoxygenated water is then expelled through the siphon. This rhythmic pumping is essential for survival, yet it also provides the mechanism for jet propulsion. When the octopus needs to move quickly, it seals the mantle opening and uses powerful muscular contractions to force the water out through the narrow siphon, creating a high-pressure jet. The directional control of the siphon is precise, allowing the animal to dart forward, backward, or sideways with minimal delay. However, this method of travel is highly inefficient over long distances, which is why most species spend the majority of their time crawling or remaining stationary. Dietary specialization among octopuses is often dictated by the morphology of their beak and the potency of their venom. While many are generalists, some have evolved to focus on specific prey types. For instance, species that inhabit sandy flats may focus on bivalves, using their strength to pull the shells apart or their radula to drill a hole through which they inject paralyzing saliva. Once the prey is immobilized, the octopus secretes digestive enzymes into the shell, partially liquefying the proteins before consuming them. This external digestion allows the octopus to maximize its caloric intake while minimizing the energy spent on mechanical breakdown. In the open ocean, pelagic octopuses like the blanket octopus have different strategies, often utilizing the stinging tentacles of Portuguese man-o'-war jellyfish as defensive and offensive tools, demonstrating a remarkable ability to utilize components of their ecosystem for survival. The camouflage system of the octopus is not limited to visual mimicry. It is a full-spectrum defense strategy. The speed at which an octopus can change its appearance is faster than that of a chameleon, occurring in less than a second. This is because the chromatophores are controlled directly by the nervous system rather than by hormones. This neural control allows for complex patterns to ripple across the skin, such as the passing cloud display, where dark bands of color move across the body to mimic the shadows of moving water or to distract prey. The leucophores and iridophores provide the structural color that chromatophores cannot achieve, reflecting the ambient light of the surrounding water to ensure the octopus matches the specific hue and brightness of its backdrop. In the deep-sea environment, the rules of visibility change. At depths where sunlight does not penetrate, many octopuses are reddish or orange in color. Because red light is the first to be absorbed by water, these animals appear black and invisible to predators in the deep. Some deep-sea species have also lost the ability to produce ink or change color, as these traits provide no evolutionary advantage in total darkness. Instead, they may possess bioluminescent organs or rely on heightened tactile senses to navigate the vast, cold plains of the bathyal zone. The energetic cost of maintaining complex visual camouflage is high, and in the resource-scarce deep ocean, those calories are better spent on reproduction or basic metabolic maintenance. Problem-solving in octopuses often manifests as an ability to navigate man-made obstacles. In coastal areas, octopuses are known to enter lobster traps to consume the catch and then exit before the fisherman returns. In research facilities, they have been documented unscrewing the lids of jars from the inside or even short-circuiting lights by spraying jets of water at them. These behaviors suggest a high level of curiosity and an ability to learn the properties of novel objects through trial and error. This learning is not just limited to individual experience. There is evidence that octopuses can refine their hunting techniques based on the success or failure of previous attempts. A young octopus may initially struggle with a difficult-to-open shell, but with repetition, it finds the optimal point to apply pressure or drill, demonstrating a capacity for procedural memory. The social life of the octopus is generally characterized by solitary existence, yet recent discoveries have challenged the idea that they are entirely asocial. In specific locations, such as Octopolis or Octlantis, off the coast of Australia, groups of gloomy octopuses have been observed living in close proximity. In these high-density areas, they exhibit complex social interactions, including signaling, territorial disputes, and even the throwing of silt or shells at one another. These interactions suggest that while they do not form schools or permanent social bonds, they are capable of recognizing and reacting to the presence of conspecifics in a structured manner. This behavior is often driven by a surplus of food or a lack of suitable denning sites, forcing the normally solitary animals into a shared space. The lifespan of an octopus is a critical factor in its biology. Most species live for only 1 to 2 years, with even the largest species rarely exceeding 5. This rapid life cycle is a form of live fast, die young strategy. They grow at an incredible rate, sometimes increasing their body mass by 5% per day. Every gram of protein consumed is efficiently converted into tissue. However, this rapid growth comes at the cost of long-term cellular repair. The onset of senescence is triggered by the optic glands, which are analogous to the pituitary gland in mammals. After reproduction, these glands secrete hormones that cease the animal's urge to eat and begin the process of systemic breakdown. While this seems tragic from a human perspective, it is a highly effective evolutionary strategy that ensures the parent does not compete with its offspring for food resources in the immediate environment. Developmental stages from the egg to the adult involve significant physiological transitions. For those species that have a paralarval stage, the transition from a drifting planktonic organism to a benthic hunter is a period of high mortality. During this time, the young octopus must develop the muscular strength required for crawling and the neural complexity needed for camouflage. Those that survive this transition quickly establish a territory and begin the cycle of growth. The sheer number of eggs produced by many species is a biological insurance policy against the high risks of the early life stages. Only a fraction of a percent of hatchlings will survive to reach sexual maturity, but those that do are among the most efficient predators in the ocean. As we look across the different species, the diversity is staggering. The mimic octopus, found in the tropical Indo-Pacific, is perhaps the most specialized in its camouflage. It does not just change its color to blend in, it assumes the physical postures of other animals. To mimic a flatfish, it pulls its arms back and moves in a shimmering, undulating motion along the sand. To mimic a lionfish, it hovers in the water column with its arms splayed like venomous spines. This dynamic mimicry requires a sophisticated understanding of how other animals perceive movement and form. It is a testament to the octopus's ability to process complex environmental data and translate it into physical action. In contrast, the larger species like the giant Pacific octopus rely on their size and strength. They can overpower large fish and have even been known to capture seagulls that land on the water's surface. Their dens are often littered with the carapaces of dozens of crabs, testifying to their impact on the local ecosystem. Despite their size, they remain elusive, spending much of their time hidden in deep rock crevices where their soft bodies can be protected from larger predators like sea lions. The biological limits of the octopus are primarily defined by oxygen availability and water temperature. Because their copper-based blood is less efficient at carrying oxygen than iron-based blood, they are highly sensitive to warming oceans, which hold less dissolved oxygen. This makes the octopus a potential indicator species for the health of marine environments in the face of climate change. The sensory world of the octopus is one we are only beginning to understand. Beyond vision and touch, they are sensitive to low-frequency sounds and vibrations through their statocysts, which are balance organs located in the head. These organs allow the octopus to sense its orientation in the water column and detect the approach of large predators even when they are out of sight. The integration of all these sensory inputs, tactile, chemical, visual, and vibrational, occurs in a brain that is fundamentally different from our own. It is a mind that is distributed throughout its body, an intelligence that is as much in the arms as it is in the head. This unique arrangement has allowed the octopus to survive for over 300 million years, outlasting many other lineages and carving out a niche as one of the most successful and intriguing groups of animals on the planet. The functional morphology of the octopus is a study in biological efficiency. Within the mantle, the primary organs are protected by a thick, muscular wall that acts as both a protective casing and a pump for respiration. The gills, or ctenidia, are sophisticated structures with a high surface area to facilitate the maximum exchange of gases. Because the octopus relies on hemocyanin, which is less efficient at carrying oxygen than hemoglobin at high temperatures, the animal must constantly pump water through its mantle to maintain its metabolic rate. This necessity creates a link between the animal's respiratory health and its environment. In stagnant or hypoxic waters, an octopus quickly loses its ability to perform complex tasks or engage in high-speed escapes. The digestive tract of an octopus is similarly specialized. After the beak has broken the prey into manageable pieces and the radula has further shredded the tissue, the food passes through an esophagus that actually travels through the center of the brain. This anatomical quirk means that an octopus cannot swallow large, hard objects without risking neurological damage, hence the heavy reliance on external digestion and the thorough mechanical breakdown of food before ingestion. The stomach and a large, specialized organ called the cecum facilitate the absorption of nutrients, while the liver, or digestive gland, processes waste and stores energy in the form of lipids. Octopus skin is not merely a covering but a complex sensory and effector organ. While the chromatophores provide the visual display, the skin also contains photoreceptors that may allow the octopus to see with its body. These opsins, similar to those found in the retina, are sensitive to light and may allow the skin to respond to changes in light intensity and color without the information needing to reach the central brain. This peripheral light-sensing ability could explain why an octopus can achieve such perfect camouflage even when its eyes are focused on a different part of the environment. The skin's texture is managed by a network of dermal erector muscles that can transform a smooth surface into a jagged one in milliseconds, mimicking the structural complexity of a reef. In the context of the larger marine ecosystem, octopuses are vital for nutrient cycling. By consuming high-protein prey and being consumed in turn by larger predators, they facilitate the flow of energy through the food web. Their foraging behavior often disturbs the substrate, uncovering smaller organisms that other fish then consume, a process known as commensal feeding. In some environments, certain species of fish have been observed following octopuses as they hunt, waiting for the octopus to flush prey out of hiding. This interspecies interaction highlights the octopus's role as a keystone predator in many benthic communities. The daily behavior of an octopus is often a balance between the need for calories and the need for safety. Foraging is a high-risk activity. When an octopus leaves its den, it is exposed. To mitigate this, many species utilize cryptic locomotion, moving slowly and pausing frequently to blend into the shadows. They may use a technique called speculative hunting, where they reach their arms into crevices and holes without knowing if prey is inside, relying on the chemoreceptors in their suckers to detect a meal. If a prey item is found, the octopus can use its incredible strength to wedge itself into the crevice or pull the prey out. Shelter is the cornerstone of octopus survival. A den is not just a place to sleep. It is a fortress. Many octopuses will spend hours selecting the perfect stones, shells, and even human debris to reinforce their home. The entrance is often made as small as possible to prevent large fish or eels from entering. In areas with soft, sandy bottoms where natural crevices are scarce, octopuses will dig burrows or inhabit discarded shells. The famous coconut octopus takes this a step further by carrying its shelter with it, a behavior that demonstrates not only tool use but also a sophisticated understanding of environmental limitations. Interaction with threats involves a series of escalating responses. If camouflage and inking fail, an octopus may attempt to appear larger by flaring its webbing, a behavior called maral spread. This is often a last-ditch effort to intimidate a predator. Some species, like the blue-ringed octopus, use aposematism, warning coloration, to signal their toxicity. Their bright blue rings only appear when the animal is agitated, providing a clear visual signal to back away. This prevents the animal from having to use its venom, which is a metabolically expensive resource to produce. Reproduction marks the beginning of the end for these animals. The mating process itself can be perilous. In some species, the male must approach the female with extreme caution to avoid being mistaken for food. The use of the hectocotylus allows for the transfer of genetic material while maintaining a distance. In some deep-sea species, the male may even detach the hectocotylus and leave it with the female, ensuring fertilization even if they are separated. The female's devotion to her eggs is absolute. She will clean them, aerate them, and guard them against all threats, including those much larger than herself. This self-sacrifice ensures the survival of the next generation, but at the cost of the parent's life. The transition from hatchling to adult is a race against time and predation. Paralarvae are part of the vast planktonic soup of the ocean, where they are both predators of smaller larvae and prey for larger organisms. Their growth is exponential. As they settle to the seafloor, they must quickly learn the local geography and identify safe denning sites. This learning curve is steep. An octopus that cannot find shelter or master camouflage within its first few days on the bottom is unlikely to survive. Deep-sea octopuses represent an entirely different evolutionary adaptation to the marine environment. In the bathypelagic and abyssopelagic zones, food is scarce and temperatures are near freezing. These animals have adapted by slowing down. Their metabolic rates are a fraction of their shallow water relatives. Some species, like the Dumbo octopus, have lost the classic crawling lifestyle entirely, instead drifting through the water column using ear-like fins. These deep-sea varieties often have larger eggs and longer development times, sometimes staying in the egg for years before hatching as fully developed, small-scale adults. This allows them to skip the dangerous planktonic stage where food would be too sparse to support them. The diversity of the octopus lineage is seen in species like the mimic octopus, which inhabits the silt-rich waters of Indonesia. Its ability to impersonate up to 15 different marine species, including sea snakes, lionfish, and stingrays, is a peak of cognitive and physical coordination. By changing its posture and movement patterns, it can deter specific predators by mimicking their own natural enemies. This requires the octopus to not only perceive its environment, but also to categorize and react to the specific threats it encounters. The giant Pacific octopus remains the most iconic of the large species. Inhabiting the cold, nutrient-rich waters of the North Pacific, it can grow to massive proportions. Despite its size, it is incredibly shy and elusive. Its intelligence is legendary among aquarium keepers, often being credited with the ability to recognize individual humans and exhibit distinct personalities. Scientifically, this is described as individual behavioral variation, a trait often associated with higher-order vertebrates. This variation suggests that octopuses are not just biological machines reacting to stimuli, but are capable of complex, individualized responses to their world. The ecological role of these animals continues to expand as we discover more about their habits. They are the silent architects of the seafloor, the masters of disguise, and the most intelligent of the invertebrates. Their short lifespan and terminal reproduction are the biological trade-offs for their high-energy, high-intelligence lifestyle. In the vast history of life on Earth, the octopus remains a testament to the power of evolution to produce complex, sentient life through a path entirely separate from our own. The complex internal chemistry of the octopus is a direct reflection of its demanding lifestyle. To fuel its large brain and active musculature, the octopus requires a constant supply of energy, which is managed by a highly efficient metabolic pathway. Because they are ectotherms, their metabolic rate is heavily influenced by the temperature of the surrounding water. In the tropical shallows, an octopus may live a frantic, fast-paced life of constant hunting and rapid growth. In contrast, the species inhabiting the polar regions or the deep trenches move with a deliberate slowness, as the cold water slows the chemical reactions within their cells. This temperature sensitivity also affects their lifespan. Individuals of the same species will typically live longer in colder water than in warmer water, as the heat accelerates the biological clock leading toward senescence. The octopus's mantle cavity is not only the center of its respiratory and reproductive systems, but also its primary means of waste disposal. The kidneys, or nephridia, filter the blood and expel nitrogenous waste into the mantle, where it is washed away by the constant flow of water. This integration of systems ensures that the animal remains clean and efficient, even when confined to a small den for long periods. The cleanliness of an octopus's den is notable. They are known to sweep their homes using jets of water from their siphons to push out sand, shells, and organic debris. This behavior helps prevent the buildup of bacteria and maintains the integrity of their hiding spot. One of the most specialized aspects of octopus biology is the beak. Composed of chitin and cross-linked proteins, the beak is incredibly hard and wear-resistant, yet it is not attached to any bone. Instead, it is embedded in a mass of powerful muscles known as the buccal mass. This allows the beak to rotate and shear with immense force. The upper and lower mandibles fit together like an inverted parrot's beak, allowing the octopus to crack the thick carapaces of crabs or the shells of gastropods. Inside the mouth, the radula acts as a conveyor belt of tiny teeth, scraping flesh from the inside of a shell. For particularly difficult prey, the octopus uses its drilling technique. The salivary papilla, a small organ near the radula, uses a combination of mechanical scraping and chemical secretion to dissolve a tiny hole in a shell, through which the octopus can inject its paralyzing venom. The venom of the octopus is a complex cocktail of proteins and neurotoxins. While most species possess venom that is only harmful to small invertebrates, the evolution of these toxins has been a key factor in their success as predators. By immobilizing prey quickly, the octopus reduces the risk of injury to its own soft body during a struggle. The blue-ringed octopus is the extreme exception, possessing a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that produce tetrodotoxin. This toxin blocks sodium channels in the nervous system, leading to total paralysis. Interestingly, the octopus itself is immune to its own toxin, a biological safeguard that allows it to carry such a lethal weapon within its salivary glands. Sensory perception in the octopus extends beyond vision and touch to include a sophisticated sense of equilibrium and orientation. The statocysts are two fluid-filled sacs located within the cranial cartilage. Each sac contains a small, hard stone called a statolith and a series of hair cells. As the octopus moves, the statolith shifts, stimulating the hair cells and providing the animal with precise information about its position relative to gravity. This allows the octopus to maintain a level gaze and a stable orientation, even when it is twisting through complex three-dimensional environments. It is this sense of balance that enables the incredible coordination required for an octopus to jet backward while simultaneously aiming its siphon and preparing its ink sac for release. The intelligence of the octopus is perhaps most evident in its capacity for spatial reasoning. In the wild, an octopus must remember the locations of multiple potential dens, the boundaries of its hunting grounds, and the locations of high-threat areas where predators frequently patrol. This mental mapping is updated constantly. If a den is destroyed or a new predator moves into the area, the octopus adapts its movement patterns accordingly. This flexibility is a hallmark of complex intelligence, moving beyond the rigid, instinctual behaviors seen in many other marine invertebrates. Researchers have noted that octopuses often take reconnaissance trips, exploring new areas of a reef without immediately hunting, suggesting they are gathering information for future use. The usage of tools by octopuses remains one of the most compelling areas of cephalopod research. Beyond the well-documented coconut octopus, other species have been observed using jellyfish tentacles as weapons or using stones to prop open the valves of bivalves, preventing them from closing and trapping the octopus's arm. In laboratory settings, they have shown an ability to distinguish between different human handlers, reacting differently to a person who provides food versus one who performs maintenance on their tank. This ability to categorize and remember individual others is a trait typically reserved for social vertebrates, making its appearance in a solitary mollusk a subject of intense scientific interest. The daily activity of an octopus is a masterclass in risk management. A typical day involves long periods of inactivity within the den, interspersed with short, high-intensity foraging bouts. During these bouts, the octopus uses its camouflage to move from one patch of the reef to another. If it finds a productive area, it may stay for several minutes, using its arms to probe every hole and corner. If it feels exposed, it will flatten its body and change its color to match the substrate, remaining perfectly still for long periods. This patience is a key component of their hunting strategy. They are as much ambush predators as they are active foragers. Defense mechanisms in octopuses are layered and redundant. If the visual camouflage is pierced and the ink screen is bypassed, the octopus relies on its physical slipperiness and its ability to squeeze into impossibly small spaces. The skin produces a layer of mucus that makes it difficult for a predator to maintain a grip. Furthermore, the octopus can change its body shape to appear like something unpalatable or dangerous. Some species will curl their arms upward to mimic the appearance of a stinging sea anemone, while others will flatten themselves against the sand to look like a toxic flatworm. These mimicry behaviors are not just about looking like something else. They are about subverting the predator's recognition patterns. The reproductive process is the final chapter in the octopus's life, and it is governed by a strict hormonal regime. The male's life ends shortly after he successfully transfers his spermatophores. He enters a state of decline where he stops hunting and loses his ability to camouflage, eventually falling prey to other animals or simply expiring from exhaustion. The female's path is longer but equally terminal. Her dedication to the eggs is a rare example of extreme parental investment in the invertebrate world. She will starve herself for months, her body literally digesting its own muscle tissue to provide the energy needed to continue aerating and protecting the eggs. This ensures that when the hatchlings finally emerge, they do so into an environment that has been kept clean and safe by their mother's final acts. The development from hatchling to juvenile involves a series of rapid morphological and behavioral changes. For those that start as paralarvae, the development of the arms is a priority. Initially, the arms are short and the suckers are few, but within weeks they grow in length and complexity. The young octopus must also develop its chromatophore system. Hatchlings often have very few pigment cells, making them nearly transparent, a different form of camouflage suited for the open water. As they grow and move toward the seafloor, the number and variety of chromatophores increase, allowing them to match the more complex patterns of the benthic environment. In the global ocean, the octopus occupies a variety of niches. The common octopus is perhaps the most widespread, found in temperate and tropical waters worldwide. It is the standard by which octopus intelligence and behavior are often measured. However, other species show remarkable specialization. The wonderpus, with its striking white on rusty brown patterns, is an expert at living in the volcanic sand slopes of the Indo-Pacific. The larger Pacific striped octopus is unique because it is one of the few species that has been observed living in pairs and mating beak to beak, a significant departure from the solitary and often aggressive mating seen in other species. The deep-sea species continue to surprise biologists with their longevity and unique adaptations. The pearl octopus of the deep Pacific has been found nesting in massive groups around hydrothermal springs. The warmth from these springs accelerates the development of their eggs, which would otherwise take years in the near-freezing ambient water. This represents a rare example of octopuses utilizing geothermal energy to overcome the biological limits of their environment. These deep-sea nurseries can contain thousands of individuals, creating a localized hotspot of life in the otherwise barren deep. The differences in size among species are also an adaptation to their specific environments. Small species like Octopus wolfie can find food and shelter in the tiny gaps of a coral reef that larger species could never access. Massive species like the giant Pacific octopus need the vast, cold, prey-rich waters of the North Pacific to support their huge bulk. Regardless of size, the fundamental biology remains the same. A decentralized brain, a three-hearted circulatory system, and a body made of muscle and mystery. The octopus remains a pinnacle of evolutionary design, a creature that has mastered the art of survival in a world that is constantly trying to eat it. Its existence is a reminder that intelligence and complexity can take many forms, and that the most alien life on Earth is actually right here in our own oceans. The molecular mechanisms governing the octopus's skin are a subject of intense scrutiny in the field of evolutionary biology. The expansion and contraction of chromatophores are controlled by radial muscles that are innervated directly by the brain. This direct neural link is unique. Most animals that change color do so through slow-acting hormonal signals. In the octopus, a single nerve fiber may control multiple chromatophores, allowing for the rapid propagation of patterns such as the passing cloud or pulsing stripes. This allows the animal to communicate its physiological state or intent to others. For instance, a sudden shift to stark white often indicates fear or submission, while dark, mottled patterns can signal aggression or a readiness to hunt. Beneath this layer of pigment, the structural color provided by iridophores and leucophores functions passively. Leucophores are essentially white reflectors that scatter all wavelengths of light, helping the octopus match the brightness of its background regardless of the light source. Iridophores, containing stacks of thin protein plates, create iridescent greens, blues, and silvers through thin film interference. By combining these three layers, pigmentary, reflective, and structural, the octopus can recreate almost any visual environment. This is particularly vital in the intertidal zone, where light conditions shift rapidly with the movement of waves and the angle of the sun. Movement through the water column involves a careful management of buoyancy and hydrodynamics. Unlike their relatives, the nautilus, octopuses lack a gas-filled shell to keep them afloat. They are naturally slightly denser than seawater, meaning they must expend energy to stay off the bottom. In the deep sea, some species have evolved gelatinous tissues that are less dense than muscle, providing a form of neutral buoyancy that allows them to drift with minimal effort. This adaptation is a trade-off. While it saves energy in a food-poor environment, it limits the animal's physical strength and speed compared to its muscular shallow water counterparts. The hunting strategy of the octopus is often influenced by its specific habitat. In seagrass meadows, an octopus may use its arms to canopy a large area, creating a dark space that lures small fish seeking shelter. In rocky reefs, it uses its flexibility to probe deep into honeycomb structures. Some species have been observed using luring behaviors, where they wiggle the tip of a single arm to mimic the movement of a small worm, drawing curious fish within striking distance. Once the prey is within reach, the attack is lightning fast, involving a coordinated lunge and the deployment of the interbrachial web to ensure the target cannot escape. Problem solving is not just an experimental curiosity but a daily survival necessity. Octopuses must constantly evaluate the safety of their environment. If a particular hunting ground becomes too dangerous due to the presence of a persistent predator, the octopus will abandon it and seek a new territory. This requires the ability to weigh the cost-benefit of a location, balancing the abundance of food against the risk of mortality. In aquarium environments, this intelligence often manifests as escape artistry. Octopuses have been known to observe the timing of security patrols or the mechanics of tank lids, waiting for the optimal moment to climb out and explore. The social dynamics of certain species, though rare, provide a glimpse into a different kind of cephalopod life. The larger Pacific striped octopus exhibits behaviors that defy the standard model of octopus life. They have been observed living in groups of up to 40 individuals and sharing dens. More surprisingly, they engage in beak-to-beak mating, where the male and female face each other, their arms intertwined. This is a far cry from the arm's length mating of most species and suggests a level of social tolerance and communication that remains largely unexplained by current biological models. Biological limits are most apparent in the respiratory system. The use of hemocyanin means that as water temperature rises, the blood's ability to bind oxygen decreases at the same time the octopus's metabolic demand for oxygen increases. This creates a metabolic squeeze that can lead to rapid exhaustion. In response to climate change and warming oceans, many octopus populations are shifting their ranges toward the poles or into deeper, cooler waters. Their ability to migrate is limited, however, by their short lifespans and the need for specific benthic substrates to lay their eggs and find shelter. The care of eggs by the female is perhaps the most physically demanding phase of the octopus life cycle. She does not merely guard the eggs, she grooms them. Using her suckers and the tips of her arms, she removes any sediment or biological growth that might suffocate the developing embryos. She also uses her siphon to provide a constant stream of fresh, oxygenated water. In some deep-sea species, like Granulidone boreopacifica, this brooding process can last for over 4 years, the longest incubation period of any known animal. During this time, the female's body undergoes a slow process of autophagy, where she consumes her own non-essential tissues to stay alive until the moment of hatching. Development after hatching varies by the size of the egg. Small egg species produce paralarvae that are often less than 3 millimeters long. These tiny creatures have a simplified nervous system and limited camouflage abilities, making them extremely vulnerable to the plankton feeders of the ocean. Large egg species produce hatchlings that are essentially miniature adults. They emerge with fully functional eyes, complex chromatophores, and the instinct to immediately seek a den. This higher initial investment by the parent increases the individual's chance of survival but results in far fewer offspring overall. The ecological role of the octopus extends to their engineering of the seafloor. By collecting shells and stones for their dens, they create microhabitats that support other small organisms. The middens of discarded prey remains provide a concentrated source of nutrients for scavengers like brittle stars, small crabs, and snails. In this way, a single octopus den becomes a small oasis of biodiversity. Furthermore, as a primary prey item for many large fish and marine mammals, the octopus is a crucial vehicle for moving energy from the productive seafloor up into the higher tiers of the marine food web. Species diversity is further exemplified by the sandbird octopus, which buries itself completely in the sand, leaving only its eyes exposed. It uses its siphon to draw water through the sand for breathing, a feat of respiratory engineering that prevents the gills from being clogged with silt. Then there is the blanket octopus, where the female can grow to 2 meters in length while the male is a mere few centimeters. The female possesses large, cape-like webs that she can unfurl to appear massive and intimidating to predators, a stunning example of sexual dimorphism and defensive adaptation. As we continue to explore the world's oceans, the octopus stands as a reminder of the myriad ways life can solve the problems of survival. They are creatures of contradiction, incredibly intelligent yet short-lived, formidable predators yet soft and vulnerable, solitary yet capable of complex communication. Their biology is a testament to the creativity of evolution, producing a mind that thinks with its arms and a body that can disappear in the blink of an eye. The study of the octopus is not just the study of a marine animal. It is the study of a completely different way of being alive on this planet. The sensory integration within the octopus brain is a feat of biological processing that continues to challenge our understanding of neural architecture. Because the brain is physically wrapped around the esophagus, the central nervous system is divided into 2 primary masses, the supraesophageal and subesophageal lobes. These lobes act as the main processing centers for visual information and the coordination of the autonomic systems. However, the true complexity lies in how these central lobes communicate with the brachial plexuses, the mini-brains located at the base of each arm. This distributed network allows the octopus to maintain a high level of situational awareness. While the eyes may be focused on a predator approaching from the front, the rear arms can independently detect a chemical trail or a subtle change in water pressure behind the animal, allowing it to prepare an escape route before the central brain has even fully processed the threat. The chemoreceptive abilities of the suckers are so sensitive that they can detect concentrations of organic molecules at levels equivalent to a human smelling a single drop of perfume in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. This contact chemoreception is fundamental to the octopus's daily behavior. In the dark crevices of a reef, where vision is useless, an octopus uses its arms as a biological probe. By extending a single arm into a hole, it can taste the presence of a resting fish or the calcium carbonate of a crab's shell. This avoids the need for the octopus to expose its vulnerable head and mantle to potential danger inside the hole. If the chemical signals indicate prey, the octopus will then commit to a full-body strike or use its strength to pull the prey out. Environmental adaptation in octopuses is also seen in their varying tolerance for salinity and oxygen levels. Most species are stenohaline, meaning they can only survive in a narrow range of salt concentrations. This typically restricts them to the open ocean or high-salinity coastal areas, preventing them from moving far into estuaries or freshwater rivers. However, their ability to regulate their internal fluid balance is highly efficient within their niche. They utilize a system of active transport across the gill membranes to maintain the correct ion balance in their blue, copper-rich blood. This physiological stability is what allows them to remain active in the high-pressure environments of the deep sea or the oxygen-fluctuating environments of tide pools. The architecture of the octopus den is often a reflection of the local geology. In areas of volcanic activity, octopuses may inhabit the hollow interiors of basaltic rocks. In sandy expanses, they become bioengineers, using their siphons to blast away sand and then reinforcing the resulting pit with heavier objects. This behavior demonstrates an understanding of structural integrity. An octopus will often test the stability of a stone before placing it at the entrance of its home. If a stone is too light or moves too easily, the octopus will discard it in favor of a more substantial anchor. This selective process is a clear indication of cognitive evaluation of physical properties. The interaction between octopuses and their primary predators, such as the moray eel, is a classic example of an evolutionary arms race. Moray eels possess a keen sense of smell and a slender body that allows them to enter the very crevices where octopuses hide. To counter this, the octopus has developed the ability to mimic the texture of the surrounding rock so perfectly that the eel may swim right past it. If discovered, the octopus may release a pseudomorph, a cloud of ink that is held together by mucus in roughly the shape and size of the octopus itself. While the eel attacks the ink cloud, the octopus turns pale and jets away in a different direction. This use of a decoy is a sophisticated tactical response that requires the animal to monitor the predator's reaction and adjust its own behavior in real time. Reproductive strategies also show incredible diversity across species. While most engage in the terminal breeding cycle previously described, the Argonaut, or paper nautilus, is a unique type of pelagic octopus that has adapted to a life in the open water. The female Argonaut secretes a thin, calcareous egg case that resembles a shell. This case is not a true shell but a cradle for her eggs, which she carries with her as she drifts through the ocean. She uses the trapped air within the case to maintain buoyancy. This departure from the benthic lifestyle of most octopuses shows the evolutionary flexibility of the cephalopod body plan, allowing them to occupy nearly every marine habitat from the shore to the open sea. The biological limits of the octopus are not just defined by their short lifespan but also by their cold-blooded nature. Because they lack the ability to generate internal heat, their growth and activity are entirely at the mercy of the ambient temperature. In the subpolar waters, a giant Pacific octopus may take several years to reach its full size, whereas a tropical species might reach maturity in just 6 months. This temperature-dependent growth rate means that populations in different latitudes have vastly different demographic structures. Warmer waters lead to a faster turnover of generations, which can allow for quicker evolutionary adaptation to changing conditions, but it also makes the individual animals more vulnerable to sudden heat waves that push them past their metabolic breaking point. The transition from a planktonic paralarva to a benthic juvenile is one of the most significant remodeling events in the life of an octopus. During the planktonic phase, the animal is transparent and lacks the heavy musculature required for crawling. Its primary goal is to find small zooplankton to eat while avoiding the mouths of larger fish. As it prepares to settle, its skin begins to thicken, and the chromatophore organs increase in size and number. The animal's behavior shifts from a passive drifter to an active seeker. It will descend to the seafloor and begin sampling different substrates, sand, mud, or rock, until it finds a location that offers both food and cover. This transition is often triggered by chemical cues in the water that signal a healthy reef or a productive hunting ground. The ecological importance of octopuses is further highlighted by their role in the diet of marine mammals. Seals, sea lions, and even some species of whales rely on octopuses as a high-protein, calorie-dense food source. Because octopuses lack bones or shells, they are entirely digestible, providing a high return on investment for the predator. In certain regions, the health of the seal population is directly linked to the abundance of the local octopus population. This interconnectedness means that any threat to octopuses, such as overfishing or habitat destruction, has a cascading effect on the larger animals that depend on them for survival. Among the well-known species, the blue-ringed octopus remains a subject of both fascination and caution. Despite its small size, often no larger than a golf ball, it carries enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. Its striking blue rings are a form of aposematic signaling, a universal language in the animal kingdom that means danger. These rings only glow intensely when the octopus is threatened, serving as a high-contrast visual warning. This species lives in the shallow reefs of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, often hiding in empty shells or discarded bottles. Its existence is a reminder that in the ocean, size is not an indicator of power or lethality. In the deep sea, the Dumbo octopus provides a stark contrast to the active hunters of the shallows. Named for the ear-like fins that extend from its mantle, it moves with a grace that resembles flying through the water. It lacks an ink sac and the complex camouflage systems of its relatives, as these would be a waste of energy in the total darkness of the abyss. Instead, it relies on a very slow metabolism and a diet of polychaete worms and small crustaceans that it finds on the seafloor. Some species of Dumbo octopus have been found at depths of over 7,000 meters, making them the deepest dwelling of all cephalopods. Their survival in such extreme pressure is made possible by the lack of air-filled spaces in their bodies, which would otherwise be crushed. The intelligence of the octopus is a bridge between the world of invertebrates and the world of complex vertebrate life. They show us that a high-functioning mind does not require a backbone or a singular, centralized brain. Through their ability to use tools, solve puzzles, and even engage in social play, they challenge our definitions of what it means to be smart. Their lives are short, but they are lived with an intensity and a level of environmental mastery that few other animals can match. From the sun-drenched coral reefs to the crushing depths of the midnight zone, the octopus remains one of the most successful and intriguing residents of the blue planet. The biochemical composition of octopus ink reveals a sophisticated defense mechanism that is more than just a simple visual barrier. The primary component is melanin, the same pigment that colors human hair and skin, but it is suspended in a thick solution of mucus. When the octopus is threatened, it can control the consistency of the ink it expels. A thinner ink cloud creates a wide, lingering fog that obscures the entire area, while a more viscous discharge remains in a discrete, dark clump. This clump, as previously mentioned, acts as a decoy or pseudomorph, diverting the predator's attention away from the real animal. Furthermore, the ink contains tyrosinase, an enzyme that can irritate the eyes and temporarily desensitize the olfactory organs of predatory fish and eels. This chemical warfare ensures that even if the predator is not visually fooled, its ability to track the octopus by scent is severely compromised. In the rocky intertidal zones, octopuses exhibit a high degree of tide-pooling behavior. As the tide recedes, these animals are often trapped in small pockets of water. During these periods, they must manage rapidly fluctuating levels of dissolved oxygen and rising temperatures. Some species, like the Octopus, have adapted the ability to crawl over dry land to move from one tide pool to a better one. They can survive out of water for several minutes, provided their skin remains moist and their gills do not dry out. This terrestrial movement is achieved by using the suckers to grip the damp rocks and pulling the mantle along. This behavior is a risky endeavor, as it exposes them to avian predators like gulls and herons, but it allows them to escape stagnant water that would otherwise lead to suffocation. The skeletal absence in the octopus is compensated for by the muscular hydrostat principle, which governs every movement of their 8 arms. In a muscular hydrostat, the volume of the tissue remains constant. When the muscles in one direction contract, the tissue must expand in another. This allows the octopus to create a virtual skeleton by selectively stiffening parts of its arm. For example, to create a forceful strike, the octopus stiffens the base of the arm while keeping the tip flexible. This mechanical versatility is far superior to the jointed limbs of vertebrates, which are limited by the fixed angles of their bones. It is this principle that allows an octopus to reach around corners, tie itself into knots to provide leverage, or unscrew a lid with a combination of torque and suction. The daily activity of an octopus is heavily influenced by phototaxis, or its response to light. Most benthic octopuses are negatively phototactic, meaning they move away from bright light and seek out shadows. This is an instinctual drive to avoid detection in the clear, sunlit waters of the reef. However, their activity is also governed by the circadian rhythm, an internal biological clock that dictates cycles of sleep and wakefulness. Research using video monitoring has shown that octopuses experience periods of quiet sleep and active sleep. During active sleep, their chromatophores often flicker and change patterns rapidly, a phenomenon that some scientists compare to the rapid eye movement sleep seen in mammals. This suggests that the octopus's nervous system requires periods of intense neural processing and reorganization, even in an animal that lives only a year. The social interactions observed in Octopus and Octlantis have forced a re-evaluation of the octopus as a strictly solitary creature. In these specific Australian sites, the abundance of food and a scarcity of ideal nesting spots have created a high-density community. Here, the gloomy octopus displays a range of agonistic behaviors. They have been observed standing tall by raising their mantles high above their arms to appear more intimidating to neighbors. They also engage in silt throwing, where an octopus uses its siphon to blast a jet of water and debris at a conspecific that has approached too closely. These interactions are governed by a loose hierarchy, where larger individuals tend to occupy the best dens and smaller individuals are relegated to the periphery. This indicates that while they do not cooperate, they are capable of complex social signaling and conflict resolution. The sensory world of the octopus is further enriched by its ability to perceive proprioception, the sense of the relative position of its own body parts. However, because their body is so flexible and lacks a fixed skeleton, their proprioception is fundamentally different from that of a human. They do not have a constant mental map of where every arm is at every moment. Instead, they rely on the visual feedback from their eyes and the tactile feedback from their suckers to understand their posture. If an octopus's arm is hidden from its view, it has a limited sense of that arm's exact configuration. This is why octopuses are often seen watching their arms as they perform complex tasks like opening a jar. The brain needs visual confirmation to coordinate the movements of its decentralized limbs. The predatory impact of octopuses on crustacean populations is significant. A single adult octopus can consume several crabs a day. This predation pressure drives the evolution of defensive traits in their prey, such as thicker shells or more aggressive behavior. However, the octopus's ability to use its beak, radula, and venom allows it to bypass almost any physical defense a crab can mount. In many ecosystems, the octopus acts as a top-down regulator, keeping the populations of herbivorous crabs in check, which in turn protects the health of the seagrass or kelp forests that the crabs would otherwise overgraze. Reproduction in the deep sea involves adaptations to the vastness of the habitat. In the midnight zone, finding a mate is a significant challenge. Some species have developed heightened chemical sensing to detect pheromones released by a potential mate miles away. Once a pair meets, the mating process is often quick to minimize exposure to deep-sea predators like sleeper sharks. The eggs of deep-sea octopuses are much larger than those of shallow water species, containing more yolk to sustain the embryo through an incredibly long development period. Because food is so scarce in the deep, the hatchlings must emerge at a size that allows them to immediately begin hunting for substantial prey, rather than drifting as tiny paralarvae. The transition from hatchling to adult involves not just physical growth, but the acquisition of hunting skills. While much of their behavior is innate, the refinement of their techniques comes through experience. A young octopus may initially attempt to attack a dangerous predator or struggle to open a certain type of shell. Through trial and error, they learn which prey are easy targets and which require more sophisticated approaches, such as drilling or using their venom. This capacity for plasticity in behavior is what allows octopuses to colonize such a wide variety of marine environments, from the shipwrecks of the Atlantic to the coral walls of the Red Sea. Among the various species, the mimic octopus stands out for its unique use of dynamic mimicry. Unlike other octopuses that simply blend into the background, the mimic octopus actively takes on the persona of other animals. When moving across open sand, it may tuck its arms in and swim with an undulating motion to look like a toxic sole or flounder. If it encounters a territorial damselfish, it may extend two arms in opposite directions to mimic the appearance of a sea snake, a known predator of the fish. This behavior suggests a high level of cognitive mapping, where the octopus identifies a specific threat and selects the most appropriate costume from its repertoire to deter that threat. The giant Pacific octopus exhibits a different kind of environmental mastery through its sheer size and longevity. In the cold waters of the Puget Sound or the Gulf of Alaska, these giants can live for up to 5 years, reaching weights of over 50 pounds. Their dens are often found in deep, stable rock formations where they can retreat during the day. They are known to be clean tenants, frequently removing old shells from their dens to prevent attracting scavengers or predators. The large size of the species also allows it to hunt larger prey, including small sharks and large teleost fish. Their intelligence is frequently documented by researchers who find them capable of distinguishing between different people, often spraying water at handlers they dislike while remaining calm for those who feed them. The biological constraints of the octopus are most visible in their oxygen-binding proteins. Hemocyanin, while effective in cold and pressurized environments, is highly sensitive to acidity. As the oceans absorb more carbon dioxide and become more acidic, the ability of the octopus's blood to carry oxygen is reduced. This ocean acidification poses a significant threat to cephalopods, as it can lead to metabolic depression and reduced growth rates. Unlike fish, which can often compensate for these changes over several generations, the short lifespan of the octopus may not allow them enough time to adapt to the rapid pace of modern environmental changes. Ecologically, the death of an octopus is as important as its life. When an octopus reaches the end of its life cycle and dies, its soft body is rapidly consumed by a variety of scavengers, from small amphipods to large hagfish. This provides a sudden pulse of high-quality protein to the local environment. In the deep sea, an octopus fall can support a localized community of organisms for several weeks, similar to the more famous whale falls. This cycle of rapid growth and sudden death ensures that the nutrients captured by the octopus are quickly returned to the ecosystem, fueling the next generation of marine life. The structural diversity of octopuses is seen in the glass octopus, Vitriledinella richardi, a transparent species found in tropical and subtropical waters. Almost every part of its body is clear, except for its eyes, optic nerves, and digestive tract. This transparency is a form of pelagic camouflage, allowing it to hide in plain sight in the sunlit upper layers of the ocean. Its eyes are rectangular and elongated, a shape that helps minimize its silhouette when viewed from below by predators. This species represents the extreme of visual defense, where the animal becomes a literal window into the water around it. As we conclude this survey of the octopus's world, it is clear that these animals represent one of the most successful experiments in the history of life. They have survived multiple mass extinctions, adapted to every corner of the ocean, and developed a level of intelligence that rivals many mammals. Their life is a paradox of vulnerability and strength, of simplicity and complexity. By understanding the octopus, we gain a deeper appreciation for the diversity of intelligence on our planet and the incredible ways in which life can adapt to the challenges of the marine environment. The internal architecture of the octopus is a masterpiece of fluid dynamics and pressure management. The mantle, a muscular sac that houses the majority of the animal's vital organs, functions as the primary driver for both respiration and locomotion. Within this cavity, the gills are suspended, consisting of a series of folded lamellae that maximize surface area for gas exchange. This is a critical requirement because the octopus's blood, which utilizes the copper-based molecule hemocyanin to transport oxygen, is significantly less efficient than the iron-based hemoglobin found in vertebrates. In oxygen-poor environments, the octopus must increase the frequency and force of its mantle contractions to maintain its metabolic rate. This pumping action not only oxygenates the blood, but also allows for the expulsion of waste products through the siphon, a highly mobile, funnel-like organ that can be aimed with surgical precision. The structural integrity of the octopus is maintained not by bone, but by the muscular hydrostat system mentioned previously, supported by a specialized internal anatomy. The only truly hard part of the octopus is the beak, which is situated within the buccal mass. This beak is composed of a nested arrangement of chitinous plates, and its hardness increases progressively toward the tips, allowing it to withstand the immense pressure of crushing a crab's shell without fracturing the softer tissue where it attaches to the mouth. Surrounding the beak is the radula, a tongue-like ribbon of teeth that the octopus uses to rasp away at prey. In some species, the salivary papilla is also present, capable of secreting an acidic substance that weakens the calcium carbonate of a prey's shell, facilitating the drilling process. The nervous system's decentralization is perhaps the most defining characteristic of cephalopod biology. While the central brain, located between the eyes, is responsible for high-level decision-making and visual processing, the brachial plexuses, the clusters of neurons at the base of each arm, manage the intricate movements of the suckers and the arm's overall posture. This allows the octopus to perform what is essentially distributed computing. An arm can be severed from the body and will continue to react to stimuli, grasp objects, and even attempt to bring food toward where the mouth used to be for up to an hour after detachment. This peripheral intelligence is what enables the octopus to remain a highly effective hunter even when its central attention is focused elsewhere, such as scanning the horizon for the silhouette of a predatory shark or dolphin. The sensory capabilities of the octopus are not limited to touch and sight. They also possess statocysts, which are balance-sensing organs analogous to the inner ear of mammals. These structures are located within the cranial cartilage and consist of a fluid-filled chamber containing a calcium carbonate stone called a statolith. As the octopus moves or tilts, the stone shifts against sensitive hair cells, providing the animal with an absolute sense of up and down. This is why an octopus's rectangular pupils always remain horizontal, regardless of the orientation of its body. This stabilized visual field is essential for accurately calculating the distance and trajectory of prey during a strike. In the realm of vision, the octopus eye is an example of convergent evolution, having evolved a structure remarkably similar to the vertebrate eye but through a completely different biological pathway. One key difference is the absence of a blind spot. In humans, the nerve fibers pass in front of the retina to reach the optic nerve. In octopuses, the nerve fibers exit from the back of the photoreceptors, allowing for a continuous field of vision. Furthermore, while they lack the multiple types of cone cells required for color vision, recent research suggests they may use chromatic aberration, the way different colors of light focus at different distances, to perceive color through a process of rapid refocusing. This would allow them to match the color of their environment with stunning accuracy despite being technically colorblind. The mechanism of camouflage is a multi-layered process involving the nervous system, specialized skin cells, and physical posture. The chromatophores are the most visible layer, containing yellow, red, or brown pigments. Beneath them, iridophores reflect light to create blues and greens, and leucophores provide a white base. The papillae on the skin are controlled by a separate set of muscles that change the skin's texture from smooth to rugose. This transformation is not just a visual trick but a structural one. By mimicking the texture of a rock or a patch of algae, the octopus breaks up its outline, making it much harder for the edge detection software in a predator's brain to identify the animal as a distinct object. Locomotion is a study in energetic trade-offs. While jet propulsion is the fastest way for an octopus to move, it is incredibly inefficient. The process of sealing the mantle and contracting the muscles with enough force to create a high-pressure jet requires a massive amount of energy and causes the animal's systemic heart to stop beating temporarily. Consequently, octopuses prefer to crawl. Crawling allows them to use the suckers to maintain constant contact with the substrate, providing both stability and sensory input. In some species, like the long-armed octopus, crawling is supplemented by a walking motion where two arms are used to push off the seafloor while the others are tucked away, making the octopus look like a piece of drifting coconut or a clump of seaweed. Hunting strategies are as varied as the species themselves. The common octopus often employs a pouncing method, where it flares its webbing to create a canopy over a section of the reef, trapping any small fish or crustaceans underneath. The mimic octopus, however, uses its intelligence to deter predators and lure prey by assuming the shapes of more dangerous animals. It can mimic the toxic lionfish by spreading its arms to look like venomous spines, or a sea snake by hiding 6 arms in a burrow and extending the remaining 2 in opposite directions. These behaviors demonstrate that the octopus possesses a theory of mind, or at least a highly developed ability to categorize and exploit the visual triggers of other marine species. Problem-solving and learning have been documented in numerous laboratory settings. Octopuses can navigate mazes, distinguish between different geometric shapes, and learn to open jars through observational learning. If one octopus watches another open a container to get a crab, the observer can often replicate the task much faster than through trial and error. This indicates a level of social learning that is rare in solitary animals. In the wild, this intelligence is used for spatial memory. An octopus will often have a home range with several known dens and will take different routes to and from these dens to avoid creating a predictable trail for predators. The daily activity patterns of octopuses are often governed by the tide cycle and light levels. Many species are crepuscular, meaning they are most active during dawn and dusk. This is a strategic choice. The changing light levels make it easier for their camouflage to be effective, while their own eyes remain highly sensitive to movement. During the day, they are den-bound, staying deep within a crevice. The den is more than just a hiding spot. It is a center of activity. Octopuses are known to clean their dens, removing sand with their siphons and stacking the shells of their prey outside the entrance in a pile known as a midden. This midden can provide a historical record of the octopus's diet, showing a preference for certain types of crabs or mollusks. Interaction with predators requires a suite of defensive strategies. If camouflage fails, the octopus's next line of defense is inking. The ink is a combination of melanin and mucus. The melanin provides the visual barrier, while the mucus gives the ink a physical form that can linger in the water. Some species produce a pseudomorph, a cloud of ink that is the same size and shape as the octopus itself, serving as a decoy. Beyond inking, the octopus can use autotomy, the voluntary shedding of an arm. The severed arm will continue to move and grip things for several minutes, distracting the predator while the octopus escapes. The lost arm will eventually regenerate, a process that takes several weeks and involves the complete replacement of nerves, muscles, and suckers. Reproduction is the final and most dramatic phase of the octopus life cycle. Most octopuses are semelparous, meaning they breed once and then die. The male uses a specialized arm called the hectocotylus to transfer spermatophores into the female's mantle cavity. In some species, this is a dangerous encounter for the male, as the female may attempt to cannibalize him. To mitigate this, the male often approaches from a distance or uses its camouflage to hide its identity until the last moment. After mating, the male undergoes senescence, a rapid biological decline characterized by a loss of appetite and muscle coordination, leading to death. The female's role is even more demanding. After fertilizing her eggs, she finds a secure den and attaches the eggs to the ceiling in long strands. For the next several months, she will not eat. Her entire existence is dedicated to brooding the eggs, cleaning them with her suckers to prevent the growth of algae and parasites, and fanning them with her siphon to ensure they have enough oxygen. In the case of the deep-sea octopus Granulidone boreopacifica, this brooding period was observed to last for 53 months, over 4 years. By the time the eggs hatch, the female is a literal skeleton of her former self and dies shortly after the young emerge. The development from hatchling to adult is a high-stakes race. Most species produce paralarvae, which are tiny, transparent versions of the adult that drift in the upper layers of the ocean as part of the plankton. During this phase, they are prey for almost everything larger than them. They feed on copepods and other small larvae, growing at an exponential rate. Once they reach a critical size, they settle to the seafloor, a transition that involves a rapid change in body density and the full activation of their camouflage system. This is the most dangerous period of their life. If they cannot find a den within the first few hours of settling, they are unlikely to survive the night. Ecologically, octopuses are keystone predators in many marine environments. By consuming large numbers of crustaceans and mollusks, they prevent any one species from dominating the ecosystem. They also serve as a vital food source for apex predators, like sharks, seals, and large fish. Their high growth rate and short lifespan mean they have a high production-to-biomass ratio, making them a very efficient way for the ocean to convert small invertebrates into a large, calorie-dense food source for higher trophic levels. The differences between shallow water and deep-sea octopuses are driven by the constraints of their environments. Shallow water species are characterized by high metabolic rates, rapid movement, and complex camouflage. Deep-sea species, living in a world of constant darkness and cold, have evolved a slower lifestyle. Many lack ink sacs and chromatophores, as these are useless in the dark. Instead, they may have bioluminescent organs or rely on a gelatinous body consistency to maintain buoyancy without expending energy. The Dumbo octopus, Grimpeteuthis, for example, uses ear-like fins to fly through the water column, a much more energy-efficient method of travel than jet propulsion. Among the well-known species, the giant Pacific octopus is the largest, with a recorded arm span of over 9 meters. It lives in the cold waters of the North Pacific and is known for its incredible strength and intelligence. In contrast, the blue-ringed octopus is tiny but deadly, carrying a neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin that can paralyze a human in minutes. Its namesake blue rings only flash when it is agitated, a warning to any potential predator that it is not worth the risk. Each of these species, from the giants of the deep to the tiny killers of the reef, represents a unique evolutionary solution to the challenge of surviving in a world without a skeleton. The circulatory system of the octopus is a masterpiece of efficiency tailored to a high-demand metabolic existence. Unlike most mollusks, which have an open circulatory system, the octopus possesses a closed system where blood remains within vessels, allowing for higher pressure and more targeted delivery of oxygen to active tissues. At the heart of this system are three distinct pumping organs. Two branchial hearts are located at the base of the gills. Their sole purpose is to pump deoxygenated blood through the gill capillaries. Once oxygenated, the blood travels to a larger, central systemic heart that distributes it to the rest of the body. This separation of pulmonary and systemic circulation is strikingly similar to the hearts of mammals and birds, yet it evolved entirely independently. The copper-based hemocyanin that carries this oxygen is dissolved directly in the plasma, giving the blood its characteristic blue hue. While hemocyanin is less efficient than hemoglobin at high temperatures, it excels in the cold, pressurized environments of the deep ocean, where iron-based systems might struggle. The mechanical prowess of the octopus extends to its ability to manipulate the environment with its suckers, which are much more than simple suction cups. Each sucker is a complex muscular organ capable of independent movement and sensation. The rim of the sucker is reinforced with a ring of tough, flexible tissue that forms a perfect seal against irregular surfaces. When the internal muscles of the sucker contract, they increase the volume of the inner chamber, creating a powerful vacuum. This vacuum is so strong that a large octopus can exert enough force to pull apart the shells of a bivalve or hold fast to a rock in the face of crashing surf. Furthermore, each sucker is packed with thousands of sensory receptors. These include mechanoreceptors that sense pressure and texture, and chemoreceptors that taste the water and the substrate. This allows an octopus to determine the nutritional value of a prey item simply by touching it, or to detect the chemical signature of a predator hiding nearby. Visual perception is the primary way an octopus interacts with its world. Their eyes are large and sophisticated, often accounting for a significant portion of their head mass. The rectangular pupil is a specific adaptation that allows for a wide field of view while minimizing the effects of glare from the water's surface. Because their lenses are rigid and spherical, they focus by moving the entire lens closer to or further from the retina, much like a camera lens. This is in contrast to the human eye, which changes the shape of the lens itself. One of the most fascinating aspects of octopus vision is their ability to detect polarized light. Many marine animals, including some fish and crustaceans, are transparent or highly camouflaged in the visible spectrum but reflect polarized light. By detecting these patterns, an octopus can see through the camouflage of its prey, making it an exceptionally effective hunter in the complex light environments of the coral reef. The skin of the octopus is perhaps the most advanced display system in the biological world. While the chromatophores provide the primary colors, the iridophores and leucophores provide the backlighting and structural highlights. Iridophores contain stacks of reflective proteins that create shimmering, iridescent colors through the interference of light waves. These cells are used to mimic the dappled light of shallow water or the metallic sheen of a fish. Leucophores, on the other hand, are passive reflectors that match the color of the ambient light, ensuring that the octopus's white patches always look natural regardless of the depth or time of day. Above these cells, the skin is governed by a network of dermal erector muscles. These muscles can pull the skin into various shapes, creating bumps, ridges, or long, tassel-like protrusions called papillae. By matching both the color and the three-dimensional texture of a coral head or a bunch of kelp, the octopus achieves a level of invisibility that is virtually unmatched in nature. Locomotion in the octopus is a balance between stealth and speed. Crawling is the preferred method for foraging, as it allows the animal to stay close to the protection of the substrate. Each arm can act as a leg, a lever, or a probe. When an octopus walks, it uses a coordinated sequence of arm movements to pull itself forward, while its suckers provide the necessary grip. For rapid movement, the octopus turns to jet propulsion. By expanding the mantle cavity, it draws in a large volume of water. It then closes the mantle edges and forces the water out through the siphon. The siphon is highly flexible and can be pointed in almost any direction, allowing the octopus to steer with great agility. However, jet propulsion has a significant physiological cost. The high pressure required for the jet often compresses the systemic heart, causing it to stop beating temporarily. This means that after a high-speed escape, the octopus is often oxygen depleted and must rest for several minutes to recover. Hunting is an intellectual as well as a physical endeavor for the octopus. They do not merely stumble upon their prey. They actively seek it out using a variety of specialized tactics. In the open sand, an octopus might use speculative probing, thrusting its arms into holes and burrows to see if anyone is home. On a rocky reef, it might use canopy hunting, spreading its arms and webbing over a large area to create a dark tent that flushes out small fish and crabs. Some species have been observed using luring techniques, where they wiggle the tip of an arm to mimic a small worm, drawing prey into striking distance. Once a prey item is captured, the octopus uses its beak to deliver a paralyzing bite. The venom injected not only immobilizes the prey but also begins the process of digestion, breaking down the connective tissues so that the meat can be easily extracted from the shell. Problem-solving in octopuses is often studied through their ability to navigate man-made objects. Their curiosity is a driving force in their behavior. In laboratory tests, octopuses have shown the ability to unscrew jars, pull levers for food, and even navigate complex mazes. What makes their intelligence unique is its plasticity. They are not limited to fixed, instinctive behaviors. They can learn from experience and adapt their strategies to new challenges. For example, if an octopus encounters a new type of prey with a particularly hard shell, it will spend time exploring the shell for weaknesses, eventually finding the optimal spot to drill or apply pressure. This ability to form a mental model of a task is a characteristic of high-level intelligence. The daily behavior of an octopus is a cycle of vigilance and rest. They are typically solitary animals, and much of their time is spent maintaining their dens. A good den is a valuable resource, and an octopus will often fight to defend a particularly secure crevice. The area around the den, the midden, is often littered with the remains of past meals, which can attract scavengers. To minimize the risk of being discovered, some octopuses will carry their trash far away from the den entrance or bury it in the sand. When resting, an octopus is never truly off. Its eyes remain sensitive to movement, and its skin often continues to change color in a rhythmic pattern, possibly as a way to maintain its camouflage even while its central brain is at rest. Defensive strategies are an octopus's life insurance. When a predator like a shark or a moray eel approaches, the octopus's first response is to disappear into the background. If that fails, it may use a dymatic display, suddenly flashing bright colors or large eye spots to startle the attacker. The release of ink is a more desperate measure. The ink cloud serves as a physical and sensory barrier, but it also has a chemical component. The melanin in the ink can act as a tyrosinase inhibitor, which can temporarily dull the olfactory senses of a predator, making it harder for it to track the octopus by smell. In extreme cases, an octopus will undergo autotomy, sacrificing an arm to save its life. The arm is designed to break at a specific point, and the wound heals almost instantly, preventing excessive blood loss. The reproductive phase is the culmination of the octopus's life, and it is a period of intense biological focus. For the male, the goal is to successfully deliver spermatophores to the female using his hectocotylus. This arm is modified with a specialized groove and a pointed tip to ensure the genetic material is placed deep within the female's mantle cavity. Once this task is complete, the male's hormonal balance shifts, leading to a rapid decline in health. For the female, the process is even more grueling. After laying her eggs, she becomes a sentinel. She will not leave her eggs for any reason, not even to hunt. She spends her final months fanning the eggs to keep them oxygenated and cleaning them with her suckers to prevent fungal growth. This period of starvation is a programmed biological event. Her digestive organs actually begin to atrophy as the body redirects all energy to the care of the next generation. The transition from embryo to hatchling is a period of intense physiological transformation within the egg casing. For small egg species, the development is rapid, resulting in a paralarva that is specialized for a pelagic life. These tiny organisms are largely transparent, with only the eyes and the ink sac visible, a form of camouflage suited for the open water column where there are no surfaces to match. They possess a limited number of chromatophores and smaller arms relative to their mantle size. As they drift, they use cilia and small jets of water to navigate the planktonic layers, feeding on microscopic crustaceans. The mortality rate during this stage is extremely high, as they are a primary food source for a vast array of fish and jellies. Only those that successfully manage the transition to a benthic life, where they sink to the seafloor and begin to develop the heavy musculature and complex skin of the adult, will survive to reproductive maturity. The ecological role of the octopus is that of a master generalist, yet they are also highly specialized in how they process energy. Because they grow so quickly and have such high metabolic rates, they act as an energy sink in the marine environment. They consume vast quantities of protein and convert it into cephalopod biomass with an efficiency that exceeds most fish. This makes them a high-quality food source for apex predators. In many ecosystems, the abundance of octopuses can be a primary driver of the health of shark and dolphin populations. Furthermore, their waste products, rich in nitrogen, help fertilize the benthic environment, supporting the growth of seaweeds and microorganisms that form the base of the reef food web. Differences between shallow water and deep-sea species are most evident in their sensory and metabolic adaptations. Shallow water octopuses live in a high-energy, high-visibility world. Their lives are defined by speed, rapid color change, and complex interactions with a multitude of species. In contrast, deep-sea species like those found in the genus Musoctopus live in a world where food is scarce and temperatures remain near freezing. These animals have adapted by having much larger eggs and a lack of a paralarval stage. The young hatch as fully functional, large juveniles that are ready to hunt on the seafloor immediately. Many deep-sea octopuses also lack an ink sac, as the release of ink in total darkness would serve no purpose and represent a waste of metabolic energy. Among the well-known species, the mimic octopus is often cited as the pinnacle of cephalopod intelligence. Found in the nutrient-rich, silty waters of the Indo-Pacific, this species does not just blend in, it performs. It has been observed imitating the movement of a flatfish by pulling its arms back into a leaf shape and undulating its body. It can mimic a lionfish by holding its arms out like venomous spines, or even a sea snake by hiding in a hole and extending two banded arms in opposite directions. This behavior is conditional mimicry, meaning the octopus chooses which animal to imitate based on the specific predator it encounters. This level of environmental assessment and behavioral flexibility is rare in the animal kingdom and suggests a highly developed neural processing capability. The wonderpus is another striking species, often confused with the mimic octopus. It is characterized by its distinct pattern of white spots and bars on a rusty brown background. While it shares some of the mimicry traits of its relative, the wonderpus is primarily a crepuscular hunter, emerging at twilight to stalk small crustaceans on the sand. Its patterns are thought to be disruptive, breaking up the silhouette of the animal against the high-contrast light of the setting or rising sun. These species demonstrate how even closely related octopuses can evolve distinct visual strategies to survive in nearly identical habitats. The giant Pacific octopus remains the undisputed heavyweight of the lineage. These animals are capable of remarkable feats of strength, such as moving heavy rocks to build their dens or tearing apart the thick shells of large crabs and even small abalone. Despite their size, they are masters of the squeeze, able to pass their entire body through any opening larger than their hard beak. This allows them to hide in deep rock fissures where larger predators cannot reach them. In laboratory settings, they have shown an ability to recognize individual researchers, behaving playfully with some and displaying avoidance or even spraying water at others. This suggests that their intelligence includes a capacity for individual recognition and long-term memory of social interactions. Biological limits are a defining feature of the octopus's live fast, die young strategy. The lack of a calcium-based skeleton means that as the animal grows larger, it must expend more energy to support its own mass against gravity, even in the water. This, combined with the inefficiency of hemocyanin at high temperatures, sets a ceiling on how large and how long-lived an octopus can be. Most species are trapped in a cycle where they must grow, reproduce, and die within a very narrow time frame. This prevents them from passing on learned knowledge to their offspring, a fundamental difference between cephalopod intelligence and the cultural intelligence of mammals like whales or primates. The architecture of the octopus nervous system continues to be a primary focus for neuroscientists. Because the arms have their own local intelligence, the central brain does not need to micromanage the movement of every sucker. Instead, the brain sends high-level commands, such as extend or grasp, and the arm's local nerve cords execute the details of the movement. This embodied cognition allows the octopus to interact with its environment in a way that is far more fluid and responsive than vertebrate systems. It also allows for a level of multitasking that is unique. An octopus can hunt for a crab with one arm while the other 7 manage camouflage and monitor for threats in different directions. The daily behavior of an octopus is a testament to their adaptability. In areas with high human activity, octopuses have been known to adapt to man-made structures, using discarded pipes, bottles, and even sunken ships as dens. This synanthropy shows that they are not strictly tied to natural reef structures and can exploit new niches as they arise. However, this also exposes them to new threats, such as plastic pollution and entanglement in fishing gear. Their ability to solve the problems presented by these new environments is a clear indicator of their cognitive flexibility. Reproduction in the deep sea often involves long periods of isolation. Because individuals are spread out over vast areas of the seafloor, the ability to find a mate is critical. Many deep-sea species have enlarged olfactory organs to detect the chemical signals of potential mates over long distances. Once a mate is found, the investment in the offspring is massive. The female deep-sea octopus granulidone has been observed guarding her eggs for over 4 years, during which she never eats. This is the ultimate example of parental investment in the face of extreme environmental constraints, ensuring that when the hatchlings finally emerge, they are as prepared as possible for the harsh life of the abyss. The fine-tuning of the octopus's sensory perception is not restricted to the aquatic medium alone. The statocysts, the balance organs located within the cranial cartilage, are so sensitive that they can detect the subtle vibrations of a predator's approach through the solid substrate of the seafloor before the animal is even visible. This seismic sensing allows the octopus to retract into its den or alter its camouflage in anticipation of a threat. The integration of these various data streams, visual, tactile, chemical, and vibrational, occurs in the vertical lobe of the brain, a structure that is functionally analogous to the mammalian hippocampus and is dedicated specifically to learning and memory. This area of the brain is particularly large in species that inhabit complex environments like coral reefs, where the sheer volume of spatial and social information is highest. The movement of an octopus is a continuous negotiation with the physics of its environment. Because they lack any rigid support, their bodies are subject to deformation by ocean currents. To maintain a specific posture, they must engage in constant muscular adjustments. This is where the brachial plexuses at the base of the arms prove most valuable. They act as local controllers that compensate for the noise of the environment, allowing the central brain to focus on higher-order goals. When an octopus needs to be rigid, it uses a technique called co-contraction, firing opposing muscle groups simultaneously to create a stiff, bone-like structure. This allows them to lever themselves over obstacles or pry open the armored shells of their prey with hundreds of pounds of force. Hunting in the intertidal zone presents a unique set of challenges and opportunities. During low tide, an octopus may find itself trapped in a small volume of water that is rapidly warming. To survive, it must manage its metabolic rate by entering a state of relative dormancy, reducing its heart rate and minimizing movement. However, if a potential meal, such as a stranded fish or a shore crab, enters its pool, the octopus can switch to an active hunting mode in milliseconds. Some species have been observed using hydromining techniques, where they use their siphon to blast jets of water at the sand to uncover hidden bivalves. This use of water as a tool for excavation is a sophisticated behavior that requires the animal to predict where the prey might be buried based on subtle surface cues. The blue-ringed octopus provides a case study in the evolution of specialized defense. While most octopuses rely on crypsis, the blue-ringed octopus utilizes aposematism, Its neurotoxin, tetrodotoxin, is produced by colonies of bacteria living in its salivary glands. This is a form of mutualism, where the octopus provides the bacteria with a stable environment and nutrients, and in return, the bacteria provide a chemical defense that makes the octopus essentially untouchable. The striking blue rings that flash on its body are not produced by chromatophores but by iridophores that reflect light with such intensity that they appear to glow. This high-visibility signal is intended to prevent a physical confrontation altogether, as the octopus itself is fragile and could be easily crushed by a predator even if it delivers a lethal bite. The architecture of the octopus's skin is further enhanced by its ability to reflect polarized light. While humans cannot see this, many marine animals use polarization for navigation and communication. Octopuses have specialized cells that can change the polarization of the light they reflect, creating a private communication channel that is invisible to many of their predators. This might be used for signaling between individuals during the rare instances of social interaction or to signal territory to a rival without alerting a nearby shark. The complexity of the octopus's skin is so great that it is often described as a living screen, capable of displaying high-resolution patterns that can shift faster than the human eye can follow. In the open ocean, pelagic octopuses like the blanket octopus have abandoned the seafloor entirely. These species exhibit extreme sexual dimorphism. The female can grow up to 2 meters in length and possesses long, flowing webs between her arms that she can unfurl like a massive cape to appear larger and more intimidating. The male, by contrast, is a tiny organism only a few centimeters long. He possesses a specialized hectocotylous arm that he can actually detach and give to the female. The female stores these arms in her mantle cavity until she is ready to fertilize her eggs. This long-distance mating strategy is an adaptation to the vastness of the open ocean, where the chances of a male and female meeting are relatively low. The argonaut, or paper nautilus, is another pelagic specialist with a unique reproductive strategy. The female secretes a thin, white, calcareous case that she uses to protect her eggs. This case also functions as a buoyancy device. The female traps a bubble of air inside, which she regulates to stay at a specific depth in the water column. Unlike the true nautilus, the argonaut does not live inside this shell in the traditional sense. She holds onto it with her arms. This adaptation allows the argonaut to thrive in the epipelagic zone, the sunlit upper layers of the ocean where most other octopuses would be too heavy to stay afloat without constant swimming. The giant Pacific octopus demonstrates the biological limits of the cephalopod body plan. In the cold, oxygen-rich waters of the North Pacific, they can grow to enormous sizes, but they are still restricted by the oxygen-binding capacity of their hemocyanin. As they get larger, the surface area to volume ratio of their gills becomes a limiting factor. To compensate, large octopuses have incredibly high heart rates during activity and must spend significant amounts of time in a resting state to allow their tissues to recover. Their short lifespan, rarely exceeding 5 years, is a direct result of this high-intensity metabolism. They are the Formula One cars of the marine world. Incredibly high performance but built for a very short duration. Development from hatchling to adult involves a complete behavioral remodeling. A paralarva must learn to hunt in a three-dimensional, open-water environment, where prey is often fast and elusive. Once it settles on the seafloor, it must immediately learn to navigate a two-dimensional surface full of crevices and hidden dangers. This transition is marked by the rapid growth of the vertical lobe of the brain, as the animal begins to store long-term memories of its new home range. An octopus that survives its first week on the bottom is much more likely to reach maturity, as it has successfully identified safe zones and hunting zones within its immediate environment. The ecological importance of the octopus as a predator-prey link cannot be overstated. In the complex food webs of the ocean, the octopus serves as a bottleneck through which a vast amount of energy flows. By consuming thousands of small crustaceans and then being consumed by a single large predator, they concentrate the nutrients of the seafloor into a form that can support the largest animals in the ocean. In areas where octopus populations have declined due to environmental changes, there is often a corresponding collapse in the diversity of both the prey species below them and the predator species above them. This makes the octopus a sentinel species, an animal whose health reflects the overall stability of the entire marine ecosystem. Daily activity in the deep sea is governed by the diurnal vertical migration of the entire ocean's biomass. As trillions of organisms move toward the surface at night and return to the depths during the day, deep-sea octopuses must position themselves to take advantage of this conveyor belt of food. Some species will drift hundreds of meters upward to feed on the migrating plankton and then sink back to the seafloor to digest in the safety of the dark. This rhythmic movement is one of the largest migrations on Earth, and the octopus is a key participant, using its neutral buoyancy and sensitive eyes to navigate the lightless middle depths of the world's oceans. The mimic octopus, and its ability to impersonate other species, is a peak of neuromuscular coordination. To mimic a sea snake, the octopus doesn't just change its color to black and white bands. It must hide its head and 6 of its arms in a burrow while waving the remaining 2 in a specific serpentine rhythm. This requires the brain to inhibit the natural movements of most of its body while executing a highly specialized motor program in a small subset of its limbs. This is a level of inhibitory control that is usually associated with the frontal lobes of primates, showing that the octopus has solved the problem of complex behavior through a completely different neural architecture. The lifespan of the octopus, while short, is characterized by an incredible learning curve. Unlike vertebrates, which often spend years under parental care, the octopus is a self-made individual. From the moment it hatches, it is equipped with the basic software for survival, but the hardware of its brain is designed to be updated constantly by experience. This phenotypic plasticity allows octopuses to thrive in a world that is constantly changing. Whether it is a new predator, a change in water temperature, or a human-built structure, the octopus is designed to observe, learn, and adapt. This resilience is what has allowed them to survive for hundreds of millions of years, and it is what makes them one of the most successful and fascinating groups of animals ever to inhabit the Earth. The functional integration of the octopus's respiratory and circulatory systems is essentially a high-pressure solution to a low-efficiency problem. Because hemocyanin requires a much higher volume of blood to move the same amount of oxygen as hemoglobin, the octopus maintains a blood pressure that is remarkably high for an invertebrate. This pressure is regulated by the muscular contractions of the mantle, which creates a rhythmic bellows-like effect. During periods of intense activity, the octopus can increase its heart rate and the strength of its mantle pulses. But this leads to a rapid buildup of metabolic byproducts like lactic acid. Unlike humans, who can push through a lactic acid buildup for extended periods, the octopus has a much lower threshold for anaerobic exertion. This physiological wall is what forces a hunting octopus to frequently stop and pant by pumping large volumes of water through its gills, a behavior often seen after a failed strike or a frantic escape from a predator. The structural versatility of the octopus's arms is facilitated by an intricate cross-helix muscle arrangement. Within each arm, the transverse and longitudinal muscles are layered with oblique muscles that wrap around the limb at an angle. This allows the octopus to not only shorten, lengthen, and bend its arms, but also to twist them with extreme torque. This twisting motion is vital for unscrewing the shells of gastropods or manipulating objects in laboratory intelligence tests. The suckers themselves are controlled by a similar hydraulic principle. The central part of the sucker, the acetabulum, is pulled upward by muscles while the outer rim, the infundibulum, remains pressed against the surface. This creates a pressure differential that can reach over 100 kilopascals. This suction is purely mechanical and does not require constant muscle contraction to maintain, allowing the octopus to hang onto a surface for hours while expending minimal energy. Vision and neurological processing in the octopus are heavily influenced by the lateralization of the brain. While the eyes are positioned on opposite sides of the head, providing a nearly 360-degree field of view, each side of the brain primarily processes information from the opposite eye. However, the two halves are connected by a massive bundle of nerve fibers that allows for the transfer of information. In hunting, an octopus will often eye a target with one eye to gauge distance before rotating its body to bring both eyes to bear, or simply attacking with the arms on the side of the sighting. This unilateral focus is also seen in how they explore new objects. An octopus may spend several minutes touching a novel item with only 1 or 2 arms on a specific side, suggesting that different parts of the brain are tasked with analyzing specific types of sensory input. The camouflage mechanisms of the octopus are not just limited to mimicking the color of a rock. They involve mimicking the spectral quality of the light. In the shallow photic zone, light is filtered by the water, removing reds and oranges and leaving a blue-green environment. The iridophores in the octopus skin are tuned to reflect these specific wavelengths, creating a shimmering effect that matches the flicker of sunlight through the waves. The leucophores act as high-fidelity mirrors, reflecting whatever light is available. If an octopus is under a green leaf of sea lettuce, the leucophores reflect green. If it is on white sand, they reflect white. This passive system ensures that the octopus matches its background perfectly without the brain needing to calculate the specific color, which is essential given that the animal itself may be colorblind. Daily behavior for many species is a game of shelter hopping. In the complex environment of a coral reef, an octopus may not have a single permanent den, but rather a series of safe houses that it moves between. This reduces the risk of a predator learning the octopus's location through scent or visual cues. When moving between shelters, the octopus uses intermittent locomotion, a pattern of quick bursts followed by periods of absolute stillness. During the stillness phase, the camouflage is at its most effective, as the motion-sensitive neurons of predators like barracuda or groupers are less likely to trigger. This behavioral strategy is a direct response to the visual capabilities of their primary enemies, showing that the octopus's intelligence is deeply integrated with the sensory realities of its ecosystem. The social life of the gloomy octopus in Octopus has revealed that octopuses are capable of signal-based conflict resolution. Instead of immediately fighting over a den, 2 octopuses may engage in a visual standoff. They darken their skin and extend their arms to appear as large as possible. If one individual is significantly larger, the smaller one will usually turn a pale white color, a signal of submission and retreat. This use of honest signaling prevents physical injury to both parties. The fact that these interactions occur mostly in high-density areas suggests that octopuses possess the latent capability for social structure, even if they choose to live solitarily in most other environments where resources are more spread out. Defense against olfactory predators, like eels, requires more than just visual hiding. The ink of the octopus is a multifaceted weapon. While the melanin provides the visual smokescreen, the chemical additives are the true deterrent. The ink contains amino acids and alkaloids that can overwhelm the sensitive chemoreceptors in a fish's nose. For an eel, which relies heavily on smell to find prey in dark crevices, a face full of ink is like a blinding flash to a human. The ink may also contain substances that mimic alarm pheromones of other fish, causing the predator to become confused or to think that a larger threat is nearby. This chemical complexity explains why even the most persistent predators will often break off an attack once the octopus deploys its ink sac. Reproduction in deep-sea species like the Dumbo octopus, Grimpeteuthis, is a slow-motion process. Because the water is so cold, often just a few degrees above freezing, the metabolic rate of the developing embryo is incredibly slow. While a shallow-water octopus may hatch in a few weeks, a deep-sea embryo may take years to develop. The females of these species often lay 1 or 2 eggs at a time, attaching them to deep-sea corals or sponges. There is no evidence of the intensive brooding seen in shallow-water species. Instead, the eggs are left to develop on their own, protected by a tough, leathery casing. This bet hedging strategy ensures that the female does not starve to death in a food-poor environment while waiting for her young to hatch, a necessary adaptation for life in the abyss. The giant Pacific octopus is a master of niche partitioning. It often shares its habitat with large fish and seals, but it avoids direct competition by hunting at night and targeting prey that is hidden in crevices where other animals cannot reach. Its diet is incredibly broad, including everything from small snails to large salmon and even other octopuses. This cannibalism is a common feature of many octopus species and serves as a form of population control. When a territory becomes overpopulated, larger octopuses will prey on smaller ones, ensuring that only the strongest and most successful individuals survive to reproduce. This internal pressure drives the high level of competition and the solitary nature of the species. The transition from hatchling to juvenile is a period of neural pruning and specialization. When an octopus hatches, it possesses a vast number of neurons that are capable of learning a wide range of tasks. As it settles into a specific habitat, be it a sandy flat, a rocky reef, or a kelp forest, its brain begins to reinforce the neural pathways that are most useful for that environment. An octopus living on the sand will become a specialist in burrowing and mimicry, while one on a reef will focus on spatial mapping and complex manipulation. This ability of the octopus brain to self-organize based on environmental feedback is one of the key reasons they have been able to colonize almost every marine environment on Earth. The ecological role of octopuses as ecosystem engineers is often overlooked. By dragging shells, rocks, and human debris to their dens, they create structural complexity in otherwise flat environments. These octopus gardens provide surfaces for algae to grow and hiding spots for small fish and invertebrates. In a sense, the octopus is a builder of the reef. Furthermore, their intense hunting of crabs can prevent the overpredation of smaller gastropods, maintaining a balance in the herbivore community. The removal of octopuses from an ecosystem, often due to overfishing for human consumption, can lead to trophic cascades where crab populations explode, leading to the destruction of seagrass beds and a decline in overall biodiversity. As the global climate changes, the octopus faces new biological limits. Warming oceans not only contain less oxygen but also increase the metabolic cost of living. For an animal with a copper-based blood system and a high-demand brain, this is a dangerous combination. However, octopuses also show a remarkable capacity for epigenetic adaptation, the ability to change how their genes are expressed in response to the environment without changing the DNA itself. This may allow them to adapt to rising temperatures and changing acidity levels much faster than many other marine species. Their resilience, intelligence, and unique biological toolkit make them one of the most likely survivors in the rapidly changing oceans of the future. The physiology of the octopus is a study in decentralized control, particularly within the circulatory and nervous systems. While the systemic heart drives oxygenated blood through the body, it is the constant, rhythmic expansion of the mantle that facilitates the intake of water. This water is drawn through the mantle aperture, passed over the gills, and then expelled through the siphon. The volume of water moved is substantial. A resting octopus may process the equivalent of its entire body volume in water every few minutes. During high-speed jetting, this volume increases exponentially. The siphon is not a fixed tube, but a highly flexible muscular organ that can be compressed or dilated to change the velocity of the water jet, providing the animal with a variable thrust propulsion system. This allows for both delicate station keeping in a current and explosive bursts of speed to evade a predator. The intelligence of the octopus is deeply rooted in its exploratory drive. Unlike many invertebrates that move only in response to hunger or threat, octopuses exhibit a form of curiosity. In scientific observations, they have been seen exploring novel objects with their arms even when they are not hungry. This behavior is a form of information gathering, allowing the animal to learn the physical properties of its territory. This data is processed in the posterior and anterior subesophageal masses, which coordinate the sensory input from the arms with the visual input from the brain. This cross-modal integration allows the octopus to understand that the object it is seeing is the same object it is touching, a cognitive leap that requires a sophisticated mental representation of the external world. The chemical sensing in the suckers is particularly useful for den selection. Before an octopus enters a new crevice, it will extend an arm to sweep the interior. It is looking for the chemical signatures of potential residents, such as moray eels or other octopuses, and the presence of parasites. If the taste of the den is unfavorable, the octopus will move on, even if the crevice appears physically perfect. This chemical vetting process reduces the risk of entering a trap. Furthermore, octopuses can detect the pheromones of their own species. While they are primarily solitary, this ability to sense others is critical during the brief mating season, allowing males to track females over several hundred meters of complex reef terrain. Camouflage in the octopus is as much about light management as it is about pigment. The skin contains photoreceptors that allow it to sense the ambient light level independently of the eyes. This distributed light sensing helps the octopus match the brightness of its surroundings, even when its head is tucked into a dark hole. The chromatophores are organized into units that can be fired in specific sequences to create moving patterns. One of the most striking is the passing cloud display, where waves of dark color ripple across the body. This is thought to mimic the shimmering patterns of light moving through surface waves, a form of dynamic crypsis that makes the octopus look like a part of the shifting seafloor rather than a solid object. The daily activity of the day octopus provides a contrast to the nocturnal habits of many other species. Inhabiting the coral reefs of the Indo-Pacific, this species is active during the brightest parts of the day. To survive in such a high-visibility environment, it has developed the most complex camouflage and mimicry repertoire of any octopus. It can transition from the appearance of a rock to a clump of algae to a patch of sand in less than a second as it moves across the reef. Its hunting is characterized by stop-and-go movement. It remains perfectly still for several minutes, scanning the area with its eyes, before making a rapid dash to a new location. This behavior exploits the visual processing of fish, which are highly tuned to detect movement but often ignore stationary objects. Interaction with predators often involves the use of defensive architecture. If an octopus is caught in the open, it may use its arms to gather stones and shells, holding them against its mantle to create a temporary mobile shield. This shielding behavior is a rare example of an animal using external objects for physical protection. If a predator attempts to bite through the shield, the octopus can drop the objects and jet away. In some cases, octopuses have been observed using discarded human trash, such as plastic lids or glass jars, for the same purpose. This highlights their ability to adapt their innate tool use instincts to the modern, human-altered marine environment. Reproductive limits are perhaps the most significant evolutionary bottleneck for the octopus. The fact that both parents die shortly after reproduction means that there is no vertical transmission of knowledge. Every octopus is a self-taught individual. This has profound implications for their ecology. They cannot form cultures or complex social traditions like those seen in cetaceans or primates. However, this is balanced by their extreme phenotypic plasticity. Because they are not taught how to hunt or hide, their brains are designed to be incredibly flexible, allowing them to figure out new ways to survive in almost any environment. This makes them one of the most resilient groups of animals in the face of rapid ecological change. The development from paralarva to settled juvenile involves a significant shift in osmoregulation. In the open ocean, the salinity is relatively constant, but as the young octopus settles into coastal areas, it may encounter fluctuations in salt concentration due to rainfall or river runoff. The kidneys and gills must rapidly adjust to maintain the correct internal chemical balance. This physiological flexibility is what allows certain species to inhabit mangrove forests and estuaries, where environmental conditions are far more volatile than on the open reef. Those individuals that can adapt their internal chemistry most efficiently have a significantly higher chance of reaching adulthood. The ecological role of the octopus as a prey specialist can have cascading effects on the seafloor. Some octopuses focus almost exclusively on boring mollusks or certain species of crabs. By controlling the populations of these organisms, the octopus indirectly protects the structural integrity of the reef or the health of the seagrass. In some regions, the presence of octopuses is a key indicator of a healthy, functioning food web. Their absence often leads to an overabundance of sea urchins or crabs, which can overgraze the local vegetation and lead to barren grounds. Thus, the octopus is not just a participant in the ecosystem but a manager of its complexity. Differences in the longevity of various species are often a function of water temperature. The giant Pacific octopus lives for several years in the cold North Pacific, while the blue-ringed octopus in the warm tropics may complete its entire life cycle in less than a year. This metabolic scaling means that tropical ecosystems have a much higher turnover of octopus populations. This high turnover allows for rapid evolutionary pulses, where the population can adapt to new threats or opportunities very quickly. In the deep sea, This process is reversed. The slow pace of life means that deep-sea octopuses are much more vulnerable to sudden environmental changes, as they cannot reproduce or adapt fast enough to compensate. The Argonaut remains one of the most specialized and unique members of the octopus lineage. By evolving a way to live in the open ocean, it has bypassed the limitations of the benthic lifestyle. Its paper-thin egg case is a masterpiece of biological engineering, providing both protection for the next generation and a means for the mother to stay afloat. This species demonstrates that the cephalopod body plan is not a fixed template, but a versatile platform that can be modified to conquer almost any niche in the ocean. From the crushing depths of the abyss to the sunlit surface of the open sea, the octopus has proven to be one of the most successful and adaptable forms of life on Earth. The biomechanics of octopus skin extend beyond visual manipulation into the realm of structural mimicry through the control of papillae. These are small sections of the skin that can be transformed from a flat, smooth state into complex, three-dimensional shapes such as spikes, ridges, or bumps. This process is driven by a hierarchy of muscles. The concentric circular muscles pull the skin toward a central point to create height, while the radial muscles determine the specific shape and orientation. By matching the physical relief of a textured coral or a jagged rock, the octopus negates the shadows that would otherwise reveal its presence under the direct light of the sun. This tactile camouflage is so precise that it can even mimic the fine, hair-like textures of certain marine algae, a feat that requires constant feedback between the skin's tension receptors and the local nerve cords in the arms. The digestive efficiency of the octopus is a critical component of its rapid life cycle. Once the prey is partially liquefied by the venom and salivary enzymes, it is moved into the stomach and then the cecum. The cecum is a large, spiraled organ where the primary absorption of nutrients occurs. The octopus has an exceptionally high absorption efficiency, often incorporating over 60% of the protein it consumes into new body tissue. This is why octopuses are capable of such explosive growth rates, frequently doubling their size in a matter of weeks. The liver, or digestive gland, acts as the metabolic hub, storing energy in the form of lipids and regulating the blood chemistry. Because the octopus lacks a significant way to store long-term fat reserves like a mammal, it must hunt almost daily to maintain its high energy requirements, making it a persistent and active participant in the marine food web. Shelter building is an activity that distinguishes the octopus as a cognitive engineer of the seafloor. In environments where natural crevices are scarce, octopuses demonstrate remarkable ingenuity. The veined octopus is a primary example, often referred to as the coconut octopus, for its habit of excavating discarded coconut shells from the seafloor. The octopus will use its siphon to blow sand out of the shell, flip it over, and then stilt walk across the sand while carrying the shell underneath its body. When threatened, it assembles two shell halves into a spherical armored protective casing. This behavior is recognized by biologists as true tool use, as the shells are carried for future use rather than immediate benefit. This level of foresight suggests that the octopus's internal world model includes a sense of future risk and the utility of external objects to mitigate that risk. The sensory world of the deep-sea octopuses, such as the telescope octopus, shows extreme adaptation to low-light environments. Unlike the spherical eyes of shallow water species, the telescope octopus has tubular eyes that can rotate independently. These eyes are designed to maximize light capture from above, allowing the animal to see the silhouettes of prey or predators against the faint, downwelling light from the surface. This species is also almost entirely transparent, a common trait in the mesopelagic or twilight zone, where being opaque would create a visible shadow. By evolving a body that light can pass through, the octopus achieves a form of passive camouflage that requires no metabolic energy to maintain, a vital adaptation in a region of the ocean where every calorie is precious. The biological conclusion of the octopus's life, known as senescence, is one of the most studied yet least understood phenomena in marine biology. This period of rapid decline is not merely a result of exhaustion from breeding, but is a genetically programmed event. The optic glands, located near the brain, act as a death switch. After the eggs are laid or mating is complete, these glands cease the production of growth hormones and begins secreting chemicals that suppress the appetite and trigger the breakdown of muscle tissue. If these glands are surgically removed in a laboratory setting, the octopus will stop brooding, resume eating, and can live significantly longer. This proves that the short lifespan of the octopus is an intentional evolutionary trade-off, likely designed to prevent parents from competing with their offspring for the limited food resources of the reef. As an adult octopus nears the end of its life, its impact on the environment shifts from predator to provider. The senescent octopus becomes less agile and its camouflage begins to fail, making it an easy target for scavengers and smaller predators. After death, the soft tissues are rapidly reclaimed by the ecosystem. In the nutrient-poor deep sea, a cephalopod fall provides a localized burst of organic carbon that can support hundreds of deep-sea organisms, from specialized bone-eating worms to deep-sea crabs. This final contribution ensures that the energy the octopus spent its life accumulating is returned to the sea, fueling the next generation of marine life and maintaining the cycle of the oceanic food web. In the vast diversity of the world's oceans, the octopus stands as a testament to the power of divergent evolution. It has achieved a level of intelligence, dexterity, and environmental mastery that rivals the vertebrates. Yet it has done so using a completely different anatomical and neurological blueprint. It is a creature of pure muscle and high-speed information processing, a silent guardian of the reef and a ghost of the deep. By studying the octopus, we are granted a glimpse into a different way of being, an intelligence that is distributed, a body that is fluid, and a life that is lived with a fleeting but brilliant intensity. The neurological foundation of octopus behavior is further distinguished by the size and complexity of the vertical lobe. This specific region of the brain is dedicated to the integration of sensory information and the formation of long-term memories. Unlike many other invertebrates, whose behaviors are largely pre-programmed by genetics, the octopus uses the vertical lobe to store information about the success rates of different hunting techniques and the locations of the best hiding spots. This allows for behavioral flexibility, where an individual can adjust its actions based on past failures. For instance, if an octopus is repeatedly unsuccessful in attacking a specific type of crab from the front, it will learn to approach from the rear or use a probing arm to distract the prey while it strikes from above. This capacity for learning is what allows octopuses to inhabit such a wide variety of habitats, as they can master the specific challenges of any new environment they encounter. The ecological role of the octopus as a trophic bridge is essential for the health of the marine ecosystem. By converting large quantities of low trophic energy from small crustaceans and gastropods into high-energy cephalopod biomass, they make nutrients available to apex predators that would otherwise be unable to feed on such small prey. This process is incredibly rapid due to the octopus's high metabolic efficiency. In a single year, an octopus population can cycle through several generations of biomass, effectively acting as a high-speed engine for nutrient transport within the ocean. When environmental conditions cause a sudden increase in prey availability, octopus populations can expand rapidly to exploit the resource, preventing population explosions of prey species that might otherwise damage the local habitat. The physical limits of the octopus are ultimately dictated by the chemistry of the ocean itself. Because their copper-based hemocyanin is highly sensitive to the pH levels of the water, ocean acidification, caused by the absorption of atmospheric carbon dioxide, presents a significant physiological challenge. As the water becomes more acidic, the ability of the blood to bind with oxygen is reduced, forcing the octopus to work harder just to maintain its basic metabolic functions. This can lead to metabolic depression, where the animal has less energy available for growth, reproduction, and high-level cognitive tasks. However, recent research into epigenetic markers suggests that some octopus species may be able to adjust their cellular chemistry within a single lifetime to compensate for these changes. This resilience is a hallmark of the cephalopod lineage, which has survived multiple mass extinction events over hundreds of millions of years. As we reach the conclusion of this survey of octopus biology, it is evident that these organisms represent a pinnacle of non-vertebrate evolution. They have developed a decentralized intelligence that challenges our understanding of the brain, a camouflage system that surpasses any human-made technology, and a body of near-infinite flexibility. Their lives are characterized by a profound intensity, growing, learning and reproducing within a span of just a few years. They are the silent masters of the benthic world, adapting to every niche from the sun-drenched coral reefs to the lightless plains of the abyss. The octopus remains one of the most successful and intriguing inhabitants of our planet, a reminder of the vast diversity of life and the many different ways in which intelligence can manifest in the natural world.